I'm gonna do it one more time, and then you're all set. Have a good meeting.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, October 10th. This is the select board meeting. I would like to have a motion to accept the agenda and call the meeting to order. So moved by Mrs. Canfield, second by Mr. Goodrich. All in favor? Aye. And before I move forward any further, I would like to read our statement of acceptance, which is that the Scituate Select Board is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is a disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. And with that, I just wanted to, before we go into the walk-ins, I just wanted to say that on behalf of the board, I think I have some freedom to say that we do condemn the violence that's taking place. It's very disturbing, and our thoughts are with our friends and family who have friends and family in the middle of this during this difficult time. So to hope we would miss that. So with that, are there any walk-ins in the room? Maybe not. We'll move to the report of the town administrator. Jim?
Good evening. Start with just reminding people that our water department office down at Old Oaken Bucket is still closed. We did have a vehicle drive into that. We have a contract now ready to go. They will be here for the foreseeable future. So if you have issues or questions for the water department, you should come to the town hall, and the staff is actually in the Old Board Health Office down the hall. Lighthouse renovations, exciting news. The lamp room was delivered today. So the lamp room is back. It is on the grounds. When you look at it, that is not what it's going to look like. You can see it is wrapped in the waterproofing, and then underneath that is wood. And beneath that is the galvanized steel. Next Tuesday, we have a meeting. We'll be reviewing some of the submissions from the contractor. We'll actually do the cladding. And once that is completed, we will start the cladding of the lighthouse and the copper. They'll do as much as they can on the ground. And once they have as much done as they can, it'll be lifted up to the top of the lighthouse. Next week, we are scheduled to do the pour for the platform on the lighthouse that the landform actually sits on. That'll be the last big pour. So this week, you'll see them doing the forming to hold that concrete in place when they pour it. They'll form it up, they'll pour that. Once they pour that, the lighthouse goes back up and they'll start doing the brickwork. So over the next couple of weeks, people really should see some work going on at the lighthouse. We are still scheduled to complete it this year. The only question mark is the painting, whether or not we'll have the weather necessary to do the painting this year, or whether we'll have to put that off until the spring because we need so many days of warm weather. But I think people will be happy to see, finally, be able to actually see progress on the lighthouse. So that's a good thing. Speaking of progress, starting Monday, the highway department will be working on Front Street to repave Front Street. To be a full grinding of the current road, a leveling course will go down, and they'll raise all the structures and do a final coat. It'll take just over 2 weeks to get done. We're in the process of letting the businesses know. But again, that was something we waited until the very end of the paving season, so it does not interfere with the summer business. Front Street will still be able to be accessed, but there will be a lot of construction down there, so people have to use caution. That'll be good to get that repaved and taken care of. Central Police Department, along with the Kraft Family Blood Donor Center, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and Brigham and Women's Hospital will be hosting a blood drive to remember and honor all those fighting cancer. This Sunday, October 15th, from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Public Safety Building, 800 Chief Justice Cushing. Appointments are recommended, but walk-ins will be taken as allowed. As a special thank you, donors will receive a Kraft Family Blood Donor Center long sleeve Halloween t-shirt. Details on making appointments are available and posted on the town website. Scituate Beach Commission would like to remind residents to access and complete a Beach Commission survey. It's available on the town website on the Beach Commission page. They use the survey to guide where they're going to go and what recommendations they're going to make going forward. So it's a very important document for the Beach Commission. They consider all the survey results. So if you have a couple of minutes, please go on to the website and take that Beach Commission survey. The Beach Commission would appreciate that. Plymouth County District Attorney's Office will be holding a public forum on human trafficking at the Scituate Public Library, October 16th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. A panel of speakers will discuss the realities of human trafficking in Plymouth County, the importance of collaboration between law enforcement, service providers, and survivors, how to create a path forward to achieve justice and allow survivors to heal. For more information, people can call the DA's office at 508-584-8120 or go to the website at PlymouthDA.com. As the board's aware, we'll be posting presenting the capital plan for fiscal 25 tonight to start really the capital planning process. People can go to the town website on my page and see what I'm recommending. We're recommending, well, I don't get the details of that, we'll do it later. We also started our meetings today on our operational budgets. We'll be doing those every day this week. For the town departments, we have $24.4 million in requests, which is 6% over last year. That includes requests for 10 new positions over 3 different departments. Also a request for a rate change for our building inspectors, fire inspectors. They get paid by the inspection. Right now, we're about 953,000 requests over available funds. Really not that bad for this time of year when it's just starting. But we do have 3 collective bargaining agreements that we need to get done for this current fiscal, the next fiscal year, including fire and Tosca. So fire will be obviously a big part. So we're gonna have most of those meetings this week. I think I have a couple that will go on the next week. Then we'll be able to give you kind of an update of where we are once we start on budgets, what's going on with that. On good news, Nancy gave me an updated grant report card for the year. For the calendar year, 2023, currently the town has received $2,631,412.75 grants. So congratulations to all the departments for their hard work in getting those grants. Most of them do have small town contributions, but we'll find those when we need to find those, already have those available. So good work with those departments. We will continue to seek grants for all the work that we do, and we'll be very successful. So hopefully that will continue. Finally, Scituate Food Pantry is grateful for all the donations. They continue to have a large lead. Clam chowder, canned ham, baked beans, mac and cheese, rice pilaf, all canned fish except tuna, sloppy joes, white beans, decaf coffee, either instant or ground, and cold healthy cereals. Dropped off at the food pantry Tuesday mornings 10 to 12:15, on Thursday afternoons 3 to 5:15. Placed in 2 white covered wooden containers outside the food pantry in the back behind the old Gates building. Donations are also taken to the library, village market, and shops. And that's what I have for a very quick update for tonight.
Thank you. I have a stupid question. When you say galvanized steel, what will be, like, what color will be presented at the top?
Copper.
It will be copper.
It will be
Okay.
copper. So the steel is inside, and the steel is covered in the wood outside, and the copper waterproofing goes on that, which is the black that you saw. That's the weather sheet. Then the copper goes on top of
It's
that.
fitted on top.
But the copper will be copper until it turns green, right?
Which is what color it is, yeah.
I haven't bet with the contractor that we will get a complaint that the lighthouse is not the same color that it was.
Well, that's what I imagine.
It will be copper,
Yeah.
shiny copper. It'll take a couple of years. But when you see, he's showing the pictures again, that's the weather shield
Yeah,
that goes on it. You can see, if you look real close in the back, you see that thin strip.
Yeah.
In the back, that's the steel, and that's surrounded by the wood.
and then they'll install the copper.
They're gonna install as much as possible while it's on the ground, and then lift it up. Obviously, they can't do it all because they're afraid of lifting, they'll damage it and then finish it. We did receive one question, see that hole in the top? Yes, we will return whatever that spire was that was on the top, that'll be going back up, and that's what that hole is
Back in.
for. So it will look, aside from being new and shiny, it will look the same as the lighthouse that's been there for 100 years.
Well, that's exciting, and thank you for all your perseverance and pushing them along to keep this going. I know it hasn't been easy.
A lot of, well, anytime you're working on an old building like that, you're gonna have issues, so we've had some hoops to climb through. The other thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna put some cameras up there for our public safety, looking at the jetties, the breakwater and things like that, so we can monitor those when we have time during the storm. So that'll be good too.
Any questions for Jim? Oh, Karen, sorry, I went to my right first. Did you say yes or no? Okay.
I was nodding. Just a couple things while we're on the lantern. Will the Historic Society have their camera back up there too?
The Historic Society doesn't have a camera up there.
Oh, I thought they did, okay.
The lighthouse keeper has a camera up there. Right now, we do not have plans to put that back up.
You do not? The live cam? Okay,
We do not have plans to put that back.
all right. I would imagine we will get that request because it was very popular with
We do not have plans to put that camera back out.
Okay, good to know. And have you heard from Historic Society about their plans for any ceremonies?
No, they've had a couple discussions about it, it's really depending on the timing of having this done. It's really not done until mid-November, we should be before that, the weather's gonna be bad. We probably won't get the painting done, they might wait till next year. So they really haven't come up with any plans as to.
I will reiterate, as my colleagues have pointed out, it's obviously going to be a very wide range of interest in this.
It was amazing, we had a meeting out there today at 1, usually it's at 9 o'clock, and it was amazing the number of people that were
Yeah.
coming out there to take pictures of the land.
The potential here is for national sport, because it's such an image, so I hate to mess that up.
I said it before, the contractor has really done a fantastic job on that land. It is a solid piece of workmanship, and they really did a nice job, so I think people will be impressed when all this put back together.
Well, let's make sure we tell them that. The other question that I got about the calls this weekend, and Kevin just informed me that they're also being removed from the beaches. And just, I wouldn't have to disturb this weekend, had people know that was happening, so just put it on.
Yeah, we should have put that out, but we did talk about it over a year ago.
I know, but
So
you
we
know,
should have known, but
Joe Smith didn't know about it.
when you talked about it in the winter time at the beaches, you get household trash. So,
Oh, no, I agree, but
Yeah,
fact
no.
that I got calls because people were out alleging that folks were just walking around on the beaches and leaving the food bags where the barrels used to be. And I drove around and there wasn't.
it's entirely possible, you might have got out there after the guys picked them up. There was stuff out there this morning that they picked up, but I don't know how to deal with that behavior. You know, the barrels out there take your waste home. It's-
Okay, no, it's just, it's more of a communication.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think they still would have done it even if we had announced it, but we should put something out, my mistake. That's why
And I would
we
have
have,
not called them.
that's why we have a new meeting, we have John Rowland started today.
Yeah.
A follow-up on two things, I assume that the lighthouse, the people who are doing the restoration are documenting.
We have hundreds of pictures done by our architect. So we'll make those available. They've gotten all those, and then we talked about Karen, we're grabbing the soapstone, which are the stones that went around the outside of the platform. I'm gonna make those available to the Pier 44 committee, I think that would be great, if they could incorporate that with a
I'm sure
description. So Kevin's gonna grab those sometime this week, and we'll put those in storage. Get them out of the way.
And if I may suggest to the world, maybe you should only deposit imaginary bags of your dog poop into the non-existent barrels. Who does that? You know, if there's not a trash barrel, there's no trash.
Yeah, we should get carry out signs though if we're gonna do that, so.
Yeah.
We saw some, Kevin and I, when we went up to look at the lighthouse, we went out to Cranes Beach to look at their bathroom facilities. It's not comparable to us because they use a composting toilet, so it's a whole different thing. But we have reached out to find out what they pay to maintain it. They actually have a company there every day in the summertime to keep it clean. But they do carry in, carry out. They had signs, we took some pictures, so we'll get some signs there, but we put them on carry in, carry out charge.
Great. That's good. Andrew?
Just remind me, beach nourishment, over at Minot, when are we scheduling that again? Is that next?
There's a meeting on that, I believe, Thursday night?
Okay.
Yeah, Thursday night, there's a meeting, public information meeting on the beach nourishment. I think, you mentioned that this morning. Starts Thursday. So,
Did you see that comms person started today?
yes,
Okay. Great, yeah.
yeah, we'll let her get her feet wet a little bit
Yeah.
before I expose
Give her
her.
a minute.
I don't have her Twitter her first day, so I know she had a lot thrown at her today, so probably your next meeting will bring her.
That would be great.
We have started receiving resumes from the assistant town administrator / director of planning. We have a couple of good ones. So we'll be probably starting that process of interviewing. Next week, we'll get out that.
That's good. Anything else? No, all right. Thanks, Jim. All right, so we will move on to our first item of our agenda, which is to discuss and vote for the acceptance of a donation to the Bates House Scholarship of $18,000. So we have Nancy, how are you?
Good. Last year, Rockland Trust, who's the trustee of the foundation, presented the town with a check for $34,000 from the estate of Vaughn Beachcooney, who owned the Bates House, and the town bought it. And it was two $17,000 scholarships. This year, the amount will be dispersed with $18,000, so it'll be two $9,000 scholarships. And it's the terms of the foundation specify how it's to be, the recipients are supposed to be chosen, and the Scituate School Department has that information, so they'll go through as part of their normal scholarship awarding program. So it's very nice that this was able to happen again, and as long as the foundation has money, we'll receive an annual disbursement.
Very nice. So this is for the graduating seniors of 2024.
Correct.
Great. Well, thank you to the family and the foundation for donating that to our youth. It's always helpful. Do I have anybody any questions? Let's motion.
Move to accept $15,000 for further awards to graduating seniors at Scituate High School in 2024 pursuant to the term of the Bates House Charitable Scholarship Foundation.
Moved by Mr. Goodrich, second Ms. Harrison, all in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. Thanks for bringing that forward. We're looking at a time, so I know Mr. Wayman is not here. Yet.
Well, he was supposed to come at 7:05, so it's a little.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we're a little early. And we don't have the group here for the year 44. Do we just want to jump down to contracts with Kevin and Sean? There's nothing there that says it's a public service.
No.
Public notice, so get you guys home early tonight.
We won't argue at all.
All right, let's give us a minute to get down there, because we're gonna hop down a little bit. Yeah, hold on one second. I have. Okay, which one are we doing first? Start by page 24, guys. So we're gonna do the design for permitting for the seawall on 81 Surfside, right?
Yep, and this is a 75% reimbursement from FEMA.
Okay. All right, so this is for damage that was caused by Storm Riley, which was a declared storm event from FEMA. The damages are documented, are currently still being evaluated by FEMA. That was 2018 for 75% reimbursement. A seawall easement was granted in March of this year. The seawall protects the existing dwellings, roadways, and utility infrastructure. 75% of the cost for the design and permitting will be reimbursed. 44 requested. The RFP, 3 firms responded. Do you want to give us a little bit of an update on those?
Certainly. 3 firms that we've used, we used PGA, they were contractors on the stairs. We've used on a lot of our other projects. And GEI was used on some of the hardware work. So we're familiar with all 3 of the firms that apply. They're all competent enough, we feel, to do the work, so. But the favorite was GZA in the review process. They rated the highest.
And 81 Surfside, how far down is that? Is that all the way at the end?
Just about.
Close to.
The old abandoned falling
Say by
down
that
house was
house?
right there.
Yeah, okay. All right, questions?
I do have a question. Are we still waiting for FEMA approval to start?
This
Or
is,
have this,
this is just for the engineering and permitting. I think the biggest problem, and Sean can correct me, is because it's a bank-owned property in that area there, getting all the easements and everything else
Yep, that we resolved in the spring,
that we have to resolve and get squared away so that we can do.
but they have delays in obligation of money.
Okay.
They keep telling you to move it along, we want you to make these repairs. They have their own downfalls, internally between the different groups of people that they have to do.
Meaning FEMA.
Yes, permitting, coastal permitting. It's like that, and then they do the cost estimates and reviews based on what the repair will be.
So we'll do the design and permitting and then wait. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it'll keep moving through FEMA for their review,
Hopefully they'll then,
right?
okay.
This is a rather large, almost triangular piece of wall broke out during that storm. We've made emergency repairs to it, but it needs to be fixed, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was more just curious about the timeline, really. I know it needs to be done. Actually,
What's the oldest FEMA? We're still waiting.
2012.
2012.
and this is 18.
This is the fourth of four.
This is the fourth of the 4 named storms.
Recording in progress.
And yes,
Where's 187 coming from, Nancy?
It'll be the FEMA account for 75%, and then the 25% we already appropriated years ago for the design part. So we have funds on hand for our 25%.
Okay. And when we say the FEMA account, what does that mean, since they haven't given us any money?
We have a FEMA account on the books for every single PW, and they just run in the negative until they give us money back. And we discussed with the Department of Revenue about how the fact is, these are all running in the negative until FEMA gives us money, FEMA gives us the money back, and to date, they've been fine with that. And we have NEMA on our side saying they've done everything right.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Questions this side?
Just one, that particular property has been. What is the status of the ownership of that property?
It's still back on. I don't believe it's changed hands at this point. The change we made in the bylaw a year ago, I believe. Next, so that property should not be, year ago, bank, I thought that was bank out. Bob knows that we should have a big red star in his file next to that, if anything happens, yes. That's the 11 months, as far as I know, there's been nothing about that.
Well, we're gonna have to take it at this point. Okay, thank you.
It hasn't been demolished yet? All right, any further questions on this particular contract? No, motion?
move that the select board award a seawall engineering design and permitting contract to GZA Geo Environmental Inc. for $187,278.
Moved by Ms. Connolly, second by Ms. Canfield, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next one is the Morton salt contract.
Yes, we are thinking about winter already. I know it's hard to believe. But we did get involved this year, with through Mass Highway, Plymouth County Highway Association. Town of Plymouth as a regional cooperative bid, and we partook in it this year, and we have some good results for the pricing. On that, whereas $59.66, where last year we were at $70.29. So, I think there's probably some surplus from last year, and we'll take advantage of it.
And our shed is full.
Our shed is full.
So any replacement will be at 59.66.
Typically what we do, hopefully if it's a good year and we do have the funds, we build a salt shed.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Questions?
Good, great.
Right. Great pricing, motion?
Luke Ward, contract to purchase road salt pursuant to the terms of the town of Plymouth regional cooperative bid for snow and ice removal products, salt, for that at $59.66 a ton. Morton Salt Inc. of 444 West Lake Street, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, for the period of October 10th, 2023 through October 10th, 2024, for a total sum not to exceed $300,000.
Moved by Ms. Canfield, second by Ms. Connolly, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Then the next one on your list, Kevin, is the Horsley Witten Group Engineering and Planning for municipal separate storm sewer system.
And this is a continuation of our MS4 general permit and for compliance with that. It's ongoing with that to meet the state's unfunded mandate on the, from, dispatch.
And how many respondents do we have? Do we just have Horsley or, I mean, we typically work with them?
Mostly was the original contractor that we started with. Sean's been continually working with them because they've built the plan for the past 4 years, so it's a 5th year. Next, there is a requirement for its engineering firm to go out and redo it. We want to get this interviews going that he had.
Questions?
Did I just, that was my question, so did I just hear you correctly that they had an original contract with these add-ons for the different phases? Is that what you just said? Okay. And they were priced in their original contract, or this was negotiated price?
Negotiated for us.
And are there other firms that do this kind of work as well as them?
Yeah, I can't remember who responded to the RFP when it went out. Years ago.
So that's a good question. So when does this particular contract for all this MS4, you know, the different permits that we get every year, when is that up for renewal or reevaluation?
Well, they started to let the cities and towns know in 2016 that these procedures are gonna be required, and then 2019 was the first year that they required a general permit. And then they've laid out what's required annually, or sometimes they give you 2 or 3 years to accomplish certain tasks. The last 2 years, we tested our outfalls during dry weather. That was over 300. So they sample each one that's flowing when it should be flowing, and then determine what's in the runoff. Is it somebody's dishwasher or washing machine or sewer connection that shouldn't be in yet? Now we're getting to the stage where they're going to go back up into the neighborhoods where that drainage is coming from and determine where it's coming from. So they'll do some more sampling and delineate the catchments. Been trying to do some more in-house in terms of updating the GIS mapping, things like that. We have some new equipment that water department's using as well as sewer. So we'll take those things out with us and update the mapping. If something's not shown, it should be shown on the plan. So that's continuous. But we've kind of taken that on ourselves rather than the consultants do it. But we can.
Okay. So we're in this for a few more years, or it sounds like this particular contract.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Anything, any follow? Motion?
Move that the select board award the contract to provide professional engineering and planning services to support Scituate stormwater management program and compliance with EPA's MS4 general permit to the Horsley Whitney Group for $150,000.
Moved by Mr. Goodrich. Second by Ms. Connolly. All in favor? Aye. All right, and then your last one is for gasoline
one
and
is for
ultra-low sulfur diesel.
Gas and diesel.
Right. So let's see. Looks like, all right, so it's a contract not to exceed 550,000. Have we seen anything with the rates? The town expended 210 on diesel. In FY 2023, 217,000 in gas. Again with Dennis K. Burke. So is this just a continuation of the same contract? And we approve it annually, or what?
We
or is
approve it
Burke still
annually.
the
It's
most competitive?
with the state bid list.
Yes, state
The
contract.
state bid list contract, I believe it's gone down.
Okay.
So we attach ourselves to that. You know, the best price we can for gas and diesel.
Okay. All right. Five minutes? No, anyone? Okay, motion?
Move to award a contract for the purchase of gasoline pursuant to the terms of the state contract ENE 48 and ultra-low sulfur diesel pursuant to the terms of state contract ENE 47 to Dennis K. Burke of 284 Eastern Avenue, Chelsea, Mass. For the period of October 10th, 2023 through October 10th, 2024, for a total sum not to exceed $550,000.
Motion by Ms. Connolly, second by Mr. Goodrich. All those in favor?
Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for being available. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
Anytime. Okay, so we are going to go back up to our 7:05, which is now to our entertainment permit at 43 Oceanside Drive for October 13th from 5 to 9 for a 60th reunion celebration for Scituate High School.
Hi.
Hi, Fred, how are you? You want to tell us a little bit about, more depth than what I just explained? You're seeking for an outdoor entertainment permit for a live band
Yeah,
from 5 to 9 for this Friday, the 13th, correct?
right.
And you want to tell us a little bit about how many people you expect, workable parking, things like that?
50, I have plenty of parking on my other properties. And
You said 50 or 15?
50.
50.
It's not as many as it used to be.
Oh, is it your high school reunion?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So, it'll be at my house down there, but I have plenty of parking on 92 Marion Road, 94 Marion Road, all the places.
Okay,
They need that. And, it's Billy and the Goats, which is a local band here. They play at the senior center.
Oh.
It's mild,
great. And have a butters been notified?
yes, they have.
Okay. I don't think I see any in here, to check. Questions? Everyone?
You said one about the butters list, in the backup, it looked like there were only 3 butters on your butter list. I just find that surprising. I looked, in the backup, we received, it looked like only 3 different people were notified of the butters. And
Those are the ones contacted by email,
oh,
and then I just hand out them.
oh, okay,
Mark for details.
okay, yeah, it looked like a small list, that's why I was wondering.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll be
And
finished,
I'm two of the other ones.
and the band will be finishing at 9 o'clock according to the permit.
We're probably going to bed at that time. Well, 78.
Well, congratulations. Be fun. All right, do we have any additional questions or motion?
Move to grant.
Motion. Sure,
Go ahead, yeah.
It was a wonderful event. I hope that great time.
Sorry, my husband always wants to put a sign that says, great, thanks for coming, leave by 9. Move to grant an outdoor entertainment permit to Fred Darian
Well, I'm doing, yeah.
for a live band on Friday, October 13th, 2023, from 5 to 9 p.m. at 43 Oceanside Drive.
moved by Ms. Canfield, second by Mr. Goodrich. All in favor? Aye. Well, congratulations, enjoy.
Oh, boy.
Don't go crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to move to discussion and vote for the designs for Copley Wolf Design Group, who's working on the Scituate Harbor Park, otherwise known as the Pier 44 property. This is for the final design and permitting for a contract for $384,000. Corey and Paul Barkowitz, and we both want to come up. Thank you. And Paul, I just say name and address for the right.
Great. Paul Barkowitz, 18 Dana Lane, Scituate. And I'm chair of the Scituate Harbor Advisory Redevelopment Commission. We're happy to be back before the board tonight. Corey's going to give an update on the status of the project. And and she'll review the phase 3 contract with Copley Wolf that our commission has recommended board approve. And I just want to say, it's a great project. We're really excited about it. We're making really good progress. The consultant's done a really good job on schedule, on the budget. And we did not be anywhere near this far down the road without Corey's very able assistance.
You're up, Cory.
Excellent. I did watch your Zoom meeting from last week, so you seem very pleased with the way it's moving. Looks nice, so it would be great for more folks to see it.
Okay, so just to reiterate some of the history and some of the public outreach that we've done, so people don't think this is coming out of left field, but the town acquired the property in 2010. It came with a deed restriction that it needed to be used only for public open space, land preservation and outdoor recreation. So very limited in what we can do on the property. There cannot be an enclosed building, there can't be another restaurant, there cannot be a marina. So in 2011, there were a couple surveys done, and the consensus there was that yes, we will use it for open space and recreation. And it was further determined that there would be a waterfront park built there, and building to be demolished. Fast forward to 2021, another survey went out with the same conclusion: demolish the building and develop the park. 2022, we hired Comparable Design Group to perform a site analysis, do some public outreach, and design some concepts.
And can I pause you for a minute?
Sure.
So for folks that don't understand why there was a 10-year gap, it really was because this is during the time when we renovated the library, renovated the senior center. We were in great need of space for 10 years. So I don't want folks to think that this was a result of poor municipal management. It was actually the opposite. So just wanted to call it out. So that's a big gap.
Yeah. So now that we've got the Comparable Design Group, they've developed some concept design. We put out another survey kind of asking what people liked about the design, what part features they wanted the most. And we got a lot of responses for bathrooms, an open lawn, a boardwalk along the water's edge, plaza space for pop-up events, and a kayak launch. We also did in-person public meetings with roughly 80 attendees and many, many board and committee meetings that followed. And then last annual town meeting, the CPC allocated $300,000 to conduct the final engineering and design, obtain permits, and develop the bid specifications. And then to supplement that, we've got a grant for $100,000. So tonight we are proposing that the select board approves the award to Copley Wolf Design Group for $384,000 to complete the engineering design and permitting. This is the work that's been completed so far. Green checks indicate it's done. The purple circle indicates that it's in process. And the part on the bottom with the blue parentheses around it, that's what will be part of the phase 3, the final scope of work that we are proposing tonight. So we are hoping to have further funding discussions with grant making agencies, complete the design, get permits, do professional cost estimating, develop bid documents, and continue our public outreach. This is the 30% design, so it's not the final design. It's kind of like the basic floor plan. When you look at like a, plans for a house or something like that, it doesn't. This is just the basic floor plan. It doesn't contain all the finished materials, site furnishings, details such as cultural and art pieces, and things like that. So very basic floor plan. That has the open lawn that people ask for, the boardwalk along the water's edge, the plaza for open space, and the bathrooms, which are called out as a comfort station here. Yes, we are comfort station people here. So this is what it looks like currently when you come down Haverly Road. And this is what we're hoping it would look like when we complete the design. So you'll have a nice view opened up, so you'll be able to see the harbor, instead of the big gray building. And everybody's favorite topic is the parking. So the current design proposes 13 spaces in a parking lot on the site, and 7 parallel spaces that are just off of Jericho Road. So the existing sidewalk would be moved in the site, to make room for, parking along the road. And then 12 additional spaces down, 90 feet away, at the boat ramp. And, you know, be the same sort of parallel spaces with the sidewalk moved in, making room for cars to park along the road.
Can you explain where those, that's what I thought you were speaking of, were those 2 different locations?
Yeah, so the
parallel ones.
The parallel ones, there are, the 7 are in front of the site, so right along Jericho Road.
Oh, okay.
And then I wish I had a better picture to show like continuation, but the boat ramp is right on the other side of that marina. That's where the town actually owns that property and that space, but we can only use that for boat ramp parking, but on the street we can fit additional
And you
spaces.
just be bumping into the grassy road that's there.
Right.
So,
So,
I missed this piece. Thanks for.
yeah, so a total of 32 spaces, it's covered up that little thing there, but it is a happy medium, hopefully. I will say that reducing pavement does lead to improved water quality in our harbor. Specifically, total suspended solids would be reduced by 88%. And total phosphorus would be reduced by 66%. So, and this is for a 1-inch rainfall. So a vastly improved water quality by reducing the amount of pavement on the site. All right.
That's it. Happy to answer questions. As I said, we're, one thing on Copley Wolf really put an emphasis on community outreach, help develop the survey, coordinate the public meetings, and then just as important, listening and incorporating what we heard from the community into the design concepts. Also, just so there's no confusion of the public, this is not approval of a final design. We're at 30% design, and so the permitting will go forward, and that will inform design decisions. The grant funding opportunities, Corey mentioned, they score differently for different aspects, producing pavement, having a harborside park, things like that, and we think that this will attract quite a bit of grant funding. So that will also, I think, contribute to what we bring back to the board and the community in terms of when we get closer to a final design.
It's beautiful, so thank you. I love that it's a boardwalk, and, thank you, Karen, for your leadership there, and we'll be sending a lot of these that we share with you along the way. I have a question. The 2 designs for the parking on the roadway, is that permitted to be included in this project, or is that monies that we're gonna have to obtain elsewhere?
I think it could be included.
Okay, I just wanna be sure that we get stuck in a situation where we have to seek funding elsewhere.
I'm sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Not shown tonight, but I think of great significance is the fact that this park is designed to be extremely environmentally sensitive. And I think we're gonna score a lot of points with a lot of grant makers because of how it's been designed. So for example, instead of there just being some hard seawall, in the harbor. It's gonna look very natural. There's gonna be a lot of, stormwater management of the whole site, which will include swales and rainwater gardens. And so I think we have a real opportunity here to, be a leader in taking a piece of property that's frankly polluting the harbor. We didn't know it then, but we sure know it now. And so, the fact that this has evolved significantly over the past, it's just 100, this part of 2 years, maybe, it seems like.
Yes.
And we still have timetable wise, the chapter 91A permitting, which we have to do, because it's along the waterfront. We thought maybe we didn't, but when we went to the state, they said, yeah, you have to. So that increases the timeline as to how long this is actually gonna take. And so we're getting to the point now where it's probably a year from now that we'll be at town meeting with a request for whatever town funds we may need in excess of the grants that we hope we will have in hand at that point. So this is not hurtling down a fast track by any means. And I'm glad you said, this didn't just spring out of nowhere overnight. And I think this committee, Cory especially, and all have been cognizant of that fact. And the Shark Committee has been diligent in reviewing everything and making sure this park turns out to be, it's not gonna be everything everyone wants, but it will probably be something that everyone will be happy with. So thank you. Well said. Andrew?
I keep piling on, but this whole committee did not do a good job. They did a fabulous job of listening and being. I too have been so amazed how cost conscious everyone has been around this. That's why I want folks at home to know that as well, that looking for every dollar, trying to make sure that this is going to be there, and the listening of it has been fabulous for those spots. No, I'm excited. I just want to say thank you for Aaron.
Susan, anything?
Yeah, this is absolutely, I love that you can see the water coming down that road in the picture. I just had two questions. One, and I know, I appreciate that you're measuring parking spaces for cars. And I was wondering if in the future you could also measure parking spaces for bikes, because there's like more than one way to access this beautiful piece of property.
Oh, yeah.
So just a suggestion, I don't know, that's how I would bike here if it were an option. And then I had a question about the, would there be access like for passive recreation on the water? Like, would there be some sort of
You mean like a kayak?
kayak
Yes.
launch or, because there's also a lot of money for that too out there to better, for access to the water.
So on the bike rack, we'll definitely have a bike rack, but we also want to incorporate artistic features into the bike rack. There's opportunities to work with the school district on that. And we plan to have artistic, cultural, historic, recreation, of course, family-friendly opportunities. And we do plan, and the permitting will include a launch, I guess you call it, for a floating launch for kayaks. And there'll be a gangway that will go down to it. We'll probably, just to avoid delays in moving the main project forward, we'll probably move that as a follow-up on that, but get the permitting done, so that part's done, and then follow up with that. We're working, we have a representative from the Waterways Commission on our Shark Commission, and we'll work very closely with the Waterways Commission. We want Waterways to be very much in the lead, working with the harbor master on this small boat tie-up facility. We think it'll be wonderful, but as you said, you can certainly, this is within walking distance of many families in Scituate. you can ride your bikes there and then have water access as well.
Thank you. This is-
We're not planning a heliport or anything
No.
like that. So that would be just-
Yeah, I was at Waterways last week. They're very excited about this opportunity to be involved in another spot for small boats.
Okay. I know there's also been, we talked about it at length, many times, about maintenance. And people have seemed concerned about it, and we're talking about trash barrels tonight and DPW. I think our plan as a group is to form some sort of a Friends Committee. And one of the most important things the Friends Committee will do is to raise money for permanent maintenance. We've done it in a couple of other instances when we renovated the skate park out here. We put aside some of the money that the family donated for a maintenance fund. And I think we'll, try to do that again, because it is important that if you spend money to build something like this, that it is always looks great. And so we have thought about that. It hasn't been an afterthought.
Karen Canfield?
I was just wondering, this has been the model of how to do a public project, because the engagement and the responsiveness has been outstanding. So thank you so much for this point. I did have some questions. We covered the maintenance piece. A question about the actual contract, which is what we're voting on today. We know that we've got our lawyer present. If I read this correctly, it looks like this portion of the contract that the design team is not participating in the town permitting process. That I was not clear on that, and I wanted to know how that was going to be handled with, obviously, conservation and planning are going to have to get their eyes on the plans as we go forward. Is that what I read, that they're not participating in that?
They, sort of, we had to negotiate with them a little bit.
Yeah.
So I said I would fill out the paperwork if they would do the meetings. So just to get them to come down on price. So
Okay.
I'm basically gonna fill out the paperwork for them.
For the permitting,
Yeah,
for the internal cost.
yeah. So they'll be able to attend the meetings and do the presentations.
Okay, so there is, I did not see that there, but there's money in this contract for them to participate in that. So, the planning board says, what about this, what about that? They can answer those questions.
That's correct.
And the deliverables, I don't know, maybe I read it really quickly, but it looked like this contract excludes the final design documents themselves, and that they're not doing the final bid documents, which your timetable said bid documents. So it wasn't clear to me in the contract that they're gonna actually hand us the bid documents that we can then price the final product.
So the reasoning behind that is so that when we get, at this time, we currently have no funding for construction. So when we get to that final phase, there might be a large time gap. And for them to prepare bid documents for something that might not be prepared or might not go out to bid for a long time. We negotiated with them to leave that out and roll that part into the construction
Final bid
process.
construction.
Yeah,
Okay,
the final,
makes sense.
when it finally goes out to bid, just because there'll be a large gap, and we wanted to negotiate with them to make sure we come down on the cost. We kind of move that out to the.
The thumb is 90% or so.
Yeah, we'll have 90% design.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Good. Great question, thank you. So we're looking next special town meeting in the fall that's your goal. I was thinking we hopefully we could do an annual town meeting, but it sounds like we're almost a year away from that next big funding phase.
Maybe
More
even
than a year.
longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
We're thinking not this coming annual, the next annual.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
gonna be tied up in permitting for a very long time.
Okay.
Which is sort of good in a
Makes
sense.
sense. Yeah.
Give us some space.
Yeah. My only observation is, and I'm sure we'll hear more detail when we get, to your final design, is all those great environmental ways in which we're gonna be able to keep that green space green in the hot sun. So, so it's still, it looks nice throughout the summer. So I look forward to doing that. But thank you, again, on behalf of everyone, I think you here, you guys have done a great job. It's exciting, can't wait to see it someday. And we appreciate all your volunteerism, so thank you. Okay, so this is coming out of funds that have already been appropriated at town meeting. So do I have a motion? Ms. Conley, is that?
Sure, move that the select board award a contract in the amount of $384,000 to Papa Wolf Design Group. By final design and permitting the redevelopment of 1.04 acre Pier 44 property into a resilient park for public use and enjoyment.
Moved by Ms. Connolly. Second by Ms. Canfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Look forward to next steps. Work. Okay, I don't see Bob, is Bob just here?
Thank you.
See how. Bye. We probably thought we were still having the contracts to do. He's out there.
There's always small businesses.
Yes.
One in
I'm just trying to get down to the next section here.
It's multiple lists. Jesse. Us, Austin Tower. The ubiquitous Mr. Chesney.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Well, we left out the Lantern showed up
I
today.
know.
Yes.
So
So-
we're gonna,
Just for the record, name and address.
Robert Jesse at 9 Stearns Road, Scituate, president of the Historical Society.
So welcome. And yes, go ahead. Now you can comment on it.
Yeah, we're making progress, which is good.
Great.
Thing is, well done, it's like a rock.
Good.
Hopefully it'll be beyond anyone's life yet, so we won't have to deal with it again.
Probably pretty certain.
Yeah.
So great. So we have you here before us this evening. We did receive a note from Nancy, sort of outlining some, I think, gaps that we see with our historical properties. Nancy's gone through and given us a chart. Hopefully you have all the information as well, Bob. So I didn't know, Nancy, I didn't know if you first wanted to speak about it, and then we can go to Bob for some questions, because if I could summarize a couple of points that, thank you for doing them.
It was hard to meet you, I just want to say.
Is, I think what we're here to determine is, are we missing information? Does it exist? Or have things lapsed that we need to know, kind of return to and make sure we have updated contracts and lease agreements with all of our properties. So Nancy, I'll let you go first, and then Bob, go through some of this with you.
And I worked with Gigi as well, and we were kind of comparing what do you have in your files, what do we have in our files. And for the most part, several of the historical properties that are being managed now by the Scituate Historical Society, and we have no complaints with that, just don't have any documentation, current documentation on them. So like the lighthouse, the most recent thing we found is the 1994 lease, which is expired. So there's a couple of properties that we need to address, and that would simply be trying to figure out what it is that we want from someone to manage this. So who's responsible for paying what, who's responsible for it, does it have open hours to the public, doesn't it have open hours to the public? And that's, I reached out to Bob and Gigi as well, and saying, what do you do now? What would you like to see change, so that we could, as select board, could decide what it is they want, then we could go out and do procurement on this. It's not to change how things are being done, it's just to formalize how things are being done. So some of these properties have tenants, and some of the tenants pay rent. And who's getting the rent and where the rent is going is a question that has to be answered for some of this. When was the rent last changed? what should happen if a tenant moves out, who's responsible for getting a new tenant? Would it be the person managing the property, would it be the town, would it be the approval? So those are just kinds of things that we would want to address in any formal agreement going forward. And I gave you a copy of some of the agreements that we had in place, the 1994 Lighthouse lease. The current lease we have with Scituate Arts Association for the Bailey Ellis House. The lease that was in place for the Bates property. It's a 15-year lease and I believe it's up in 2026, but there were issues in there with the life tenancy because the life tenant has passed away. And then the one other property, I think some of the man house documentation potentially I also provided you. So and it runs the gamut. So right now, the historical buildings budget, will be back in front of you in like 2 weeks, present that. That pays for the electrical and the alarms on Cudworth and Man House, some of Man House. But the Man House rent goes into the Man House gift fund. There's nothing that says it should, but that's how the Lighthouse lease read. So the Lighthouse lease actually said the rent from the rental of the gatekeepers of the Lighthouse Keepers Cottage goes into the Lighthouse gift fund. So that wouldn't normally be the case, but this is how it's spelled out in the lease, that from there we pay expenses for lighthouse related costs, not the renovation, but things like that, same thing for Man House. But Cudworth is completely out of the historical buildings project. So ascertaining who's responsible, who pays the electricity, who pays for utilities, if there's a tenant, does the tenant pay the utilities, who pays for all of the maintenance, who's taking care of the outside of the property, the mowing. Just getting that all laid out so everybody knows who's responsible for what. And like I said, it unfortunately has to go through a procurement process. Everyone's favorite thing is procurement, we all love it. But we can't put it out for procurement and resolve this issue until we decide which properties you want to issue, if you want to issue them separately, and what you want to happen with each property as it comes to oversight and maintenance. And if there's some type of compensation for the entity that takes on that property. That was a long-winded answer to say, we just need to clean some stuff up.
Yeah, no, and just kind of looking to see, what kind of direction you want from us, but Bob, I don't know, like, maybe you and Gigi can also speak to some of the communication that, Gigi, come on up, some of the communication that you've had, what you've uncovered. And what I don't really see on here is, sort of who has what information. Looks like you've done a great job chronicalizing and calculating exactly sort of the status of everything. But I'm curious, I would think like all the leases probably fit with the historical society, I would imagine, is that. And I'm also curious if any extensions or amendments have occurred that we haven't been apprised of, like, I can't even remember if it was a vote that came before us and we said, oh yeah, just extend it. Is that documentation just missing or have those steps not taken place?
Yeah, I think Gigi and I have gone through all the documentation and then this new piece of documentation that Bob had. I think there also is the issue that I don't know if any of this was ever procured or an arrangement was just made, which is fine. We just, if going forward, we need to just address that.
Well, basically on this document that the Board of Selectmen and a member of the trustees signed in 2006, that really wouldn't have occurred had the town not decided to establish a historical commission. And this document came out of that because at the time, some of the society trustees were nervous and reticent about approving a historical commission for fear that it might usurp some of the responsibility for the historical society. In the end run, everybody agreed, after some debate back and forth, that obviously it made sense to have a historical commission as well as a society with two separate entities and one governmental and one not profit, I should say. So that's the reason that document exists. And we went through a fast. Nancy and I have been talking about this for a little bit, and I went back and went through all our files, looking for any other documentation, any other memorandums of agreement or understanding. And that was the only one that we found, other than we do have the lease related to the Bates House, which is, lays out, somewhat in a memorandum of understanding fashion, who's responsible for what, and, but those are the only two.
And that one seems to have inspired only because of the passing of the, right? That's the way I read it.
Yeah, I mean.
Like the
it had a
15 years to
lifetime.
me doesn't look like it's, and that's what my question was there some kind of vote that was just recorded as a vote in the meeting that extended it, right? Instead of,
The, just FYI, because in reading the lease, I was a little curious about the expiration and the 15 years, but I
Yeah.
think the clock is supposed to start ticking on that at the end of the life estate, not at the purchase of the property. Because it says in I'll show you the language, but it basically, if I'm reading it right, our oversight would have to be renewed, not in 2026, but in 2033. So I think the lease language is pretty clear about that, but I can,
I read it the other way.
I did too.
did you?
Yeah,
I read
so
it
maybe
in
we just
15-year
need to
increments.
some council advice on that, just to make sure,
Yeah.
cross our T's
that
and
would
dot
be
our
great.
I's, because contracts can always be interpreted in two different ways very easily.
And I think a lot of this is that there was there is none, I can't talk tonight. There have been no complaints with the way the properties have been managed. This is just, especially on my part, just an effort to get it into black and white.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that, I do contracts every day, and my modus of operation is that you write a contract for everybody in the future to be able to implement and execute, and if we're not all gonna be here,
Right.
right, in the future, so we want it to be clear, so thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
Karen,
I was just gonna ask, is it possible that in the community preservation application to buy, for the town to buy a Bates House, that there's some documentation in that file that might have related to, being able to rent it out? Because of course, thank you. And of course, everyone probably would have been asking in town meeting or at the CPC meetings, who's gonna live there, is you gonna have whatever. And that's probably where the like tenancy came up. And so just a suggestion that a look through their files and help you, just on that.
Yeah. We can look online.
I don't know if they have 2011 that far
Going
back.
back.
They have part, there's definitely.
No, but just not online.
It's not, it may not be
And a
online.
lot of times the CPC applications don't have the addenda
Right.
easily.
Right.
You can get them, but it's not just like that, so.
Right.
But
I
there's
can
definitely-
double check under our CPC file, but I know I went through it because when we started talking about this and things, frankly, our filing system wasn't the best, and so we needed to work on that anyway, so it was a good opportunity for us to start working and organizing better our records, and I didn't see anything.
Well, the reason I'm at, so I think the question would be, and I can go off one with you on this, who actually submitted the application? Was it the Historical Commission or was it the Historical Society?
Yeah, it was the society
But
with
the town bought it.
But with the town, we worked with the town on it, yeah, because the town was, certainly. I don't recall that there was ever much disagreement or dissension relative to the town, no. And they were always,
All I'm saying is, and I'll let,
Yeah, we can take a look.
I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah.
Just about the documentation.
I think it was the case where one didn't want the society group with another outright possession of the building.
Right.
We had 6 already,
Right,
so that was how she thought it could be done. So,
but she was very, very involved
Who's that?
oh, yeah.
in,
The ones who,
Person
Oh,
behind.
behind the dates.
Yeah.
Before I turn it over, I know Campbell has some questions. We'll go this way too, all right? I'm just asking, the, what's it called? The old open bucket house, is that not under your purview?
We own it.
We own,
You own
We
it,
own it,
so
I know.
it's not on here just because it's not a
Right.
shared property, right?
right,
Okay.
we just have the
Okay, I
town
was just like,
on
why
one.
is that on here? Okay, yeah, thank you.
I always have to go to the beginning part of the historical, but it's on my wall, it's like, what do we own?
This,
Nope, not that one.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, you go into the
We
schoolhouse,
do too,
we
we
have
forget.
town on one side, society on the other, pictures.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it does get confusing. I think some of the ex-selectmen thought that they owned the schoolhouse in the
Yeah.
GAR.
Gee, yeah.
yeah,
As they
years
were,
ago.
having meetings and everything there, but.
Karen, have you, had questions? I think you did.
Yes, I do. First, this is very good to get to know, because when I looked at this chart, I was like, what's just going on here? Who's on first? And we like to have everything nice and neat. So Nancy, when you talk about, procurement, which I can
I'm
understand.
glad, I'm not the only one who's surprised.
You were talking about the town procuring management of town-owned properties that are currently being managed by the historic society. Is that what you're saying?
We currently have no agreements in place
Right.
that say that the historical society is managing these properties for us and they are acting as our agent.
Well, yeah, this one for the two says that it's until we decide not to do it, you have Lawson and Cutworth, so. And, oh, no, and
Yeah,
actually,
actually,
yeah, there's a number here, it's incomplete, but at least this one is.
We also get into, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But under mass law, we should,
Well, there's also some other issues here that kind of put my antenna up, which were, when we were doing the Lighthouse Restoration Project, the Situate Historical Society was very fortunate and they applied for a Mass Cultural Grant. But the $200,000 grant goes to the Situate Historical Society, then it's turned over to us for that project. Situate Arts Association applies for grants, but in their lease, they're allowed to apply for grants for the repair and maintenance of the property. It's
Doesn't
not
have to
that,
come through us.
yeah, it's not necessarily the same for Situate Historical Society, and again, this isn't a bad thing, it's just saying you have people acting on behalf of the town who are not authorized to act on behalf of the town and binding them to things such as grant agreements, never refusing money from grants, but those are the types of things that, and we have these types of agreements that, okay, now we finally found it, it's from 2006, but there was different people here, how we manage those properties are different, the expenses for those properties are different. So it's time to just understand and how the board wants to go forward on it.
No, and again, thank you, because it also puts you at risk. If there is no agreement in place, if something should happen, if they're acting, and there's nothing legally that gives you that authority, so absolutely should do that. Go ahead, interrupt you.
no, that's fine, yeah, no, so I think in a base, so that's why I asked about the procurement. Is that at a baseline, we need to establish what the town is asking of whoever manages these properties. Include things like indemnification, include things like, should a grant be awarded to benefit any of these properties, it's clear how those funds are being expended and what we're expecting. You know, which would obviously, if you get a grant for the lighthouse, we expect it to be spent on the lighthouse, that sort of thing. That needs to be spelled out. Under mass law, if we create this document that we all think is the appropriate way for us to, you know, to seek someone to manage those properties, we're obligated to put that out to bid, is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, you should put this out to bid.
Yes, absolutely. And then the historical society will be charged with applying for that management to continue. Right, okay, so that's one thing that really needs to be done. There is a current tenant in Bates House, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I had the same sort of vague recollection that we talked about it at some point, that you don't have any documentation, I thought. Okay,
I don't.
that's concerning.
We do have a memorandum of understanding that is between the tenant and Dave Ball originally. So I can get you a copy of that. It's very similar to the lease.
Yeah, I, on the,
Well, and again, that should be between the tenant and historical society, not the person.
Well, and that needs to be spelled out in whatever is whose authority is it to lease it, under what terms and that. And then the third piece of that is, I would think in that document, we, as the town, as a whole, needs to be provided with the, financials for those. So what are the revenues from that property? What are they being spent on? Because these are properties that are owned by the town. If you're our manager, whoever's the manager should provide us, I would think, we should require them to provide us with an accounting of those things. I mean, a lot of the big tickets are obviously funded through other, town means, but I think those are the things that we need to incorporate into this document, and then clean up all the red things that are on this chart that are missing.
I guess I'm looking back to.
No, but thank you so much for, I know this is deep into the weeds, but it really is important, because, what happens if there's something happens at one of these properties and we all go like this, we need to.
I think we've been very fortunate, again, I'm sorry, Gigi, I think we're very well. We've been very fortunate with the tenants that the Historical Society has found, but if you have that tenant, then who's responsible for taking on that issue if something gets damaged in the property? Just this kind of issue that happened in Cudworth, we found out about it when funds were needed to clean it up, we weren't notified of it when it occurred, when it was first discovered. And from, I would assume from the Historical Society's point of view, they were dealing with it. They managed the properties, they were dealing with it. From the owner's perspective, we should have been notified that there was an issue. Because the first thing that Jim and I said was, well, what about an insurance claim? Do we qualify for insurance? And it's like, okay, let's go find out. We weren't gonna get it, but when they found silver rot, then, it was like, okay, great, let's go find out if insurance will cover silver rot. So I think it's just to protect, as you said, indemnification for both sides, whoever's managing the properties and also for the town.
That was my question, and it's the insurance question. Are we, as the town, as of today, fully covered? There's a slip and fall that the Bates house, are we covered today?
I'd have to find out for you.
How you could be, if you don't know who's in the building. You don't know.
And I don't know if they have renters insurance.
Yeah, we're not, the answer is not.
Clear.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of this whole conversation is there's just, we need to just clean things up.
Susan?
I think everyone hit on everything I had. Can I just ask one on the procurement? It's the management of the property. And would you also put some sort of notice out for a tenant? Would that have to be for?
I wouldn't displace any tenant, but it might be, and you might decide differently on different properties. That this is, like, you might not put this all out at once, you could put it all part and parcel that, yes, this property has a tenant. The rent or lease payments from that tenant go into such and such a fund for the maintenance of the building. Something like that. I think it could be different for you may treat different properties differently, and you may want to procure this separately, or you could structure a procurement that says we want to manage, and these are the terms for this property, this property, this property, and this property, because I think it will be different.
Right.
Depending on what you decide. And then you also have Mordecai Lincoln, depending on how the Mordecai Lincoln Task Force charge comes out and what the recommendations are, which of the buildings will be occupied, could there be multiple tenants out there? And if that's the case, who decides on the tenant? All that would have to be spelled out.
So I have a question for Gigi and Bob. Do you feel that the Historical Society, your committee, is there any risk of you stepping away from what you're doing today?
Just holding on.
Well,
It's not a chance.
It's an important question.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to get the tenor of society, because as we go through and look at this, we want to make sure that we're all.
No, we,
Can I add to that? There's, I think with the properties that are town owned, there's no risk that we would stop a flag. I mean, we may, there
So you
may
mean
be.
like
some-
GAR, Old Oaken Bucket or something else,
A
you
little-
may,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I mean, you just never know. I mean, we, as a historical society, if you look at other communities in their historic societies, most communities oversee 2, 3, maybe 4 properties. We have an exorbitant number of properties. You know, it's expensive to, and without, we had such a good relationship with the town, Nancy in particular, and Jim too. They've been extremely supportive. You know, that could change in terms of somebody leaving. Trustees, we're all getting up there in age, that may change. So I never say never, but I think we've been pleased with our relationship with the town vis-a-vis the town sites. And keep on going as long as we can, we intend to, yeah.
I think something that was introduced under Christian's tenure, the big law was compensation to the Historical Society for oversight. And this isn't, this is $16 an hour, or how many hours they work, so it ends up being probably less than $2,000 a year. But I mean, as Judy said, it's expensive for them to do, and they only have so many volunteers, so I think something like that would have to be reflected in any procurement that we do.
well, maybe, yeah, and also maybe in some of the rental money too, where that comes and what that supports, right? Right. Any other questions with some of the
Yeah, I have
documents that you're looking at?
I have one. Oh, I did have, a question on, legal counsel or for our counsel to look at all of the documents. As you mentioned, the leases are, some are antiquated with language that should be updated. And they should be signing off on all of these just for consistency. So I think that's where we're gonna go. And then the WPA building, why is that listed?
It is a town historical building,
But that's not in the historical.
facilities manages it.
Okay. So,
We don't- it
I
doesn't
didn't know
have
if
a
it was
tenant.
listed because there was a tenant at one point. or-
Yeah.
No, okay. Just happens to be.
But you're basically just having it on there because you want to make sure that we address the same situation for that building.
I don't think that facilities is gonna walk away from it,
Right.
but it is a historical.
Oh,
building.
yeah,
so,
so-
yeah.
No,
All right,
makes
so
sense.
what do you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
The Bailey Ellis House, I think, is a good example of a society, not the historical society, renting the building. I think they pay $1 a year. And I don't know what kind of agreements we have with them, but they certainly have managed to keep that property up and to get money from the community preservation to keep the property in habitable, decent condition. And I find this conversation extremely valuable because we are facing North Island and what to do with it and how we manage it. So I think this has been useful to look at this. And I know that the historical society is overburdened at this point with other properties. So, you know, we'll be looking for, most likely, a different group to manage it if the task force decides to go that way. But this is very useful.
So what do you need from us? Just agreement to move forward and clean everything up until mutual agreement with some future documents for us to evaluate.
And if it's all right with the select board, I'd like to continue to work with Bob, PG, and anybody else that's into historical about what they're doing, what they would like to see in moving forward for the management, and just do it clear. And like I said, it may be different for every property, and then it'll be up to the board to say, yeah, that's good, let's incorporate it, no, let's not.
I would just advise to be as consistent as possible as you can, you know, maybe the tenant properties are managed in one manner and those that don't have tenants, you know, because the minute you start getting into multiple different leases and agreements and conditions and terms, it gets hard to keep track of, it, but that's just my women's advice, yes.
Should we announce them for what is on the?
Well, I think after they pull the information together, absolutely, yeah.
Once we get a little bit closer to the finish line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have some documents for them to take a look at. Okay, how long, are you thinking this endeavor will take us?
At Christmas time, we should.
Yeah. And do you have enough resources? I mean, do you need? Yeah,
I made a spreadsheet. I can put more things on the spreadsheet. More columns. That's why they invented 11 by 17 paper.
no, thank you, okay, we'll go ahead, yes,
Just sort of add a little historic perspective to this.
Bob, what's it, we just have
I
questions on the.
It's not a question really, but rather, never, whatever. Amber Bond,
Thank you.
I've been watching this historical society for years. And I think it is admirable to finally get it all tied up in a nice package. Because over the years, and it started with Kathleen Laidlaw, God love her. And she ran everything by the seat of her pants and the grace of God. And she had all kinds of agreements with this one and that one and the other one. I think Gigi would agree with that.
I would agree.
And then as time went by, David Ball, same thing. So finally, before anybody has really been bitten by something untold, you're getting it together. And I think that is admirable for all of you to do this. And just another aside, there was, Kathleen came to the Board of Selectmen back in the early 90s, wanted to paint the lighthouse. And she had someone all lined up, and she asked the selectmen to allow so-and-so to paint the lighthouse. And it had to go out to bid. And so that town administrator said, well, Mrs. Laidlaw, just write the bid the way you want it, so that you can get what you want. No, I want so-and-so. And one of the selectmen said, but Mrs. Laidlaw, if you do that, we break the law. And she said, I don't care, I want him. And that's how it went.
Well, we'll make sure we clean all that up as well.
Painting of the lighthouse.
Right, that's off limits, Bob. Thank you for that historical perspective.
The Historical Society has been very good working with me about procurement, how to work on the buildings.
Yeah, appreciate all,
I would always try to go back into my hole, into my rock, but.
it's a work of, a labor of love, right? Is that the expression I usually use?
A lot of labor.
But, yes, no, and it does not go unnoticed by all the townspeople or any of us up here. We know it's a long work, so thank you. And Nancy, thank you for bringing them all together.
Just as an aside, the last time the lighthouse was painted, it was painted for free. And Patricia wanted a bid. Believe it or not, it was something that was done, Danny McAdam painted it for free. Supplied the paint, everything.
Those were the days.
Those were the days, we used to have the paint held on.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago, right?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
You need that for you.
I put it on there.
You put it on there already?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to you, Mrs. Connolly. We did at our last meeting, Karen, graciously and graciously accepted to, help put together, a charge for a committee to help us decide, I believe, how to manage their work. So, as we're trying to find that.
Yes, it's been trying.
Everybody's has, here we go. Page 118 is the original, and then I think we have some additional language that Karen had worked on as a preamble. Yes.
Well, in my typical fashion, I start something usually in the middle. And this sort of started in the middle, I realized after I sent it. So I thought it would be useful to add a paragraph prior to stating what the charge was. so that people understood in a nutshell what the background of it was. So it's in your, written documentation today, so I will read it so everyone knows what it says.
Thank you.
And it says, at the 2020 and 2022 annual town meetings, voters approved the purchase of historic Mordecai Lincoln property for $1.324 million in community preservation funds. The property located on 5.6 acres fronting the Gulf River includes the Mordecai Lincoln House built in 1695 by the great-great-great-grandfather of President Abraham Lincoln. A second house built in 1850, a mill and a shed. In addition to its historic value, the property is irreplaceable open space suitable for passive recreation. The select board recognized the importance of this asset, has decided to appoint a task force to help determine its highest and best use. So following that would be the charge, which would you like me to read it?
Sure.
The task force shall include representatives from, and this is a draft vote, from the Historic Commission, the Conservation Commission, Town Facilities Department, and 4 citizens appointed by the Select Board. Preference shall be given to citizens with experience in fundraising, construction, or historical preservation. The task force shall review and evaluate all relevant materials, including CPC applications, historical commission memo, and inspection report. Interview relevant boards and committees and consult with experts in historical properties and open space. Conduct an online survey of Scituate residents. Investigate possible funding sources, both public and private. Recommend a course of action, including, if applicable, short, medium, and long-term steps to the select board for their consideration. The task force shall issue its report to the select board by March 15, 2022.
I have a couple observations, but I'll start with Andrew. If you have any observations you want to share.
My observation is that, it's the same, but it's broad enough that this task force will be able to go in directions that we can't anticipate, which I think is wise. So, and I love having the preamble subtitle. So I would add.
Wait, just for point of clarification, we talked about the task force residing under the historical commission, correct?
No,
That's what I thought we did.
I
Or
thought
is
it
it
was
separate?
I thought it was to the select board.
Okay, so I thought when Doug was here, he would manage under his purview, but we would bring the charge for it. That's how I remember it, but that's why I want to ask everybody else. No, and I can remember.
No, I'm sorry. If I may have misunderstood, but I assumed, especially because I included the historic commission as part of the,
Part of it,
yeah, that they're an equal member of the committee.
I believe, Mara, I had it in the minutes as you described.
Thank you, Lorraine. All right, I stand corrected.
Yeah, I believe it was in the minutes as you described, Mara.
Okay, that it rolls under the commission.
Yes,
Okay,
that Karen offered to write about it, that it rolls under the commission.
okay, okay.
And then.
And that's easy to add here. It doesn't change any of all the work that's been done. It's
No.
just sort of points it in to where it lies.
Well, then, the last sentence, just so I get this straight, the last sentence, the task force shall issue its report to the historical commission.
Probably first one, right?
Well, the task force with the historical commission will issue its report to the select.
Well, the commission is part of the task force, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Or the commission
Or
shall issue its
whatever you want.
report.
We can do both. We can either have, because I think March is aggressive. So if you want your task force to like report its first findings, right? It should probably go to the commission, report the findings, and then they come together to report to us after that. Does that work with your timeline?
sure.
Okay.
No, well, a couple of things.
Okay.
Like I said, my mistake, I misunderstood. I apologize.
Oh, no.
No, I should have read the minutes of the meeting, then I would have been clear in my, charge.
Not a mistake.
Well, okay, so I think the issue of the reporting, obviously that can be changed. I knew it was aggressive, but on the other hand, I think if you don't give an aggressive date to people, they just drag on and on and on and on and on. So, I'm more than happy to give them more time, it's not me giving them time, but it's, you know. Yeah, what are we gonna do with, and they may come back saying there are some interim steps they want to take. So it could be that they come back to, so if I'm redoing the task force shall report to the historical commission.
I would just add at the beginning, this committee is formed as a subcommittee of the historic commission. And then everything else the same, and then at the end, just say, the task force shall issue its report to the historic commission by X date. And then if you want, I think the March date, I agree with you that, you know, they can always come back at a meeting time.
Yeah.
But if they have something that's actionable, we have an opportunity to do it before a special meeting. Right. We need to seek in approvals, right? Okay. So I think that timeline works. And then, you know, we're not dissolving it, there's nothing here that dissolves it, so.
So I had a question, just, and I read it before and I just realized it now. It's 7 total members, right? But one of them would be a town employee. So does that matter for like one or more
I think
members?
town employees can be members of.
No, they can be members, can they vote? Or
Yeah,
no?
a task force isn't a voting.
Or is it a
necessarily,
voting, does
I mean,
it not
I don't-
matter? Okay. Then I don't have that. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, a town employee can vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's your question.
If they're a member of,
Okay.
Yeah,
but I guess the question would be, is this task force a voting?
A voting or
subcommittee?
not, or what's this one?
But if it's a subcommittee, it's.
it's my
historical
understanding any
commission.
subcommittee, under open meeting, it has to follow the same rules. Of
Yeah.
meeting all open meeting
Okay.
laws, yeah. That's my understanding. Any other questions before I go to the audience? Okay. Yes, sir, name and address.
Jim Lipsky, 30 Hollow Street, and a member of the Historical Commission. I'm not sure that the right interpretation of what we were thinking. I'm speaking. as a
Okay, that's
member of
fine.
the Commission and we made as one of the recommendations that it be a task force. And I know at our discussion, we were quite clear that it not be a committee. So now you're
Right.
talking about a subcommittee of the Historical Commission, which is, I'm not sure, that's where we were.
So let me ask you this, where did you, when you left our meeting, where did you interpret that the task force would lie?
Personally, it's a town-owned building, town-owned property. So I just made the assumption that the task force would.
Just be a separate
be a
task force?
Separate task force.
See, I think
committee
that, I
And
think,
be responsible to the select board.
Right.
And we want to be an integral part of what happens to the North Atlantic House. We didn't want to be hearing about what is happening before we had done some work to think about what should happen. We were pretty proactive in trying to get people into the house. But anyway,
well, we would really want you to be a part of the task force. But, okay, semantics here. Can we have a task force? Don't we have to make it a whole separate committee? That's why I thought we went down this route. Jerry, so we're just a little, trying to do procedural stuff for. So a couple of us thought that we wanted to charge this task force to look at Mordecai Lincoln that resided under the historical commission as a task force. Now, others think that it was meant and intended to be a freestanding task force. Doesn't that don't we have to just like create a committee, or can we have a task force underneath the board?
You should probably form a committee, you know, because whatever they're gonna be doing, the way you're constructing it, you're gonna have to read open meeting law, you're gonna have to have minutes. And then it's like, it's just a subcommittee of a couple of people that are looking at something, you're taking the whole cross section of people and putting them together, giving them a specific task. So no matter how you structure, it's gonna have a committee responsibility, it's gonna have minutes, it's gonna be subject to the open meeting law. So the cleanest way would be to say to form the Mordecai Lincoln Study Group Task Force, whatever you want to call it, and then point who you want to point to it. If we report to the Historic Commission, report to you. I think it should probably report to the board, something like the other one makes the decisions.
Right, okay, right. So, I mean, sorry, is everyone amenable to just keeping, I didn't realize that you didn't understand that when we talking, so obviously we all heard something different.
Oh, we haven't had a meeting since last month, so the whole storage issue, they not sat down and
Oh,
talk about, so Doug and I have contact anybody that the commission says what the select board talks about.
I mean, I can read you.
that brings up a whole nother issue then. that you're
Yeah,
concerned
I can
with.
just, I'll just, I'm reading quote, Ms. Curran sees that the subcommittee would be interested under the umbrella of the historical commission. Mr. Smith asked the select board create a charge for this group and include what they would like the group to accomplish. Next step is Ms. Conley agreed to prepare a draft charge to review.
Well, I'll do
I-
whatever.
Honestly, I did not interpret that, so.
Well, I think
You
the
know-
reason why is because you have the proposal from the historic, with all
Right,
the
it's not here in
options.
front of us.
Right.
He's the one that went through all this, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Karen, it just,
Yeah, I think, you know, having this conversation is great. I think that your interpretation actually makes a lot of sense. If, we're putting together different folks and stuff, it's not, there are some groups that do have a study group or whatever, but it's a non-quorum of that particular body. We're gonna be appointing 4 folks to this, so it should probably go through the same application process we do for any board or committee. And just change it to Mordecai Lincoln Study Group
yeah.
appointment or whatever.
And
Okay.
so I would like to see this, like the sharp committee has been with.
Yeah.
Here for.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on this side of the table?
It's good,
Good with that?
trying to find a good acronym.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm sure you'll come up.
So why don't I rework this a little bit to,
Yeah,
Yeah, not much.
I mean, it probably doesn't really need to be reworked that much anymore.
Exactly.
Right, we're not going back under the issue.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you have to really add, something?
Oh, no, we can approve it.
Oh, yeah, approve it.
Yeah, no, we can
Yeah.
approve it.
That means we have to do interviews and everything and just.
Yes.
More stand up.
Well, we'd have to appoint 4 anyway, 4 citizens either way, so.
Are we allowed to like offer? No, we don't. I was gonna say to circumvent that and speed it up, and are we allowed to deputize the appointed for the historic commission, the other 3 members that are being appointed to make that selection? Or do we want to?
You need to say that again.
I know, it's all very
well, the various committees, just use CPC as an example.
Yeah.
They appoint their.
Right, we want
representative.
them
they'll
appointed
tell
by
us
the
if they
historic
want
commission.
someone to pay
But
more.
we don't.
And depending on what kind of workload they all have.
Is that your question? Okay.
The only way to shortcut it, we say 4 members appointed by the town administrator, I could just appoint them, do it, that's. But I just don't think you want to do it that way, you want this to be.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
we want some folks out there that have this expertise, to your point.
okay.
Okay.
So, reason I'm here tonight is that we had emails that to the historic commission that announced that this was on the agenda tonight, so we had no idea that we were going to make your charge time as you talk to others. It seemed like, so we are, as I said, having a medicine for the last time we talked about work by Lincoln to discuss that meeting now. Here tonight, I'm here tonight. And doing, put for that, if you're ready to go to the task force, we get. Which
Well,
is probably good, we're not.
yeah, well,
Just, we're not.
I appreciate
bringing
that.
this wrong.
no, I appreciate that, and, I apologize, but points kind of moved this point, because we just decided that it's gonna roll up to the select board anyway. So, based on some of your feedback, and based on just, making sure that procedurally it works a little bit clearer.
My apologies as you're laying down, I should have flagged it, but I missed it. so.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so do we, I don't really think there's that much that needs to be amended then. If we wanted to make a motion to accept the charges written, was there anything else that anybody had? I didn't hear any other corrections.
No.
Okay,
I would include the preamble as part of the.
okay, all right, okay. Does someone want to make a motion?
Move that the select board approve the Mordecai Lincoln Property Task Force Committee charge with the addition of the submitted preamble as presented to the board this evening.
Moved by Ms. Canfield,
Second.
second by Mr. Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
And thank you, Karen, for taking the time to
Yes.
write that.
Yes.
So,
Starting.
my
in the middle,
apologies.
as I did.
Today's, one last request, could you send me a copy of that to Doug? Your charge?
Yes,
Sure.
I actually did send it to Doug. So, but we'll, it's adding the preamble.
So he has
I
received
did
it.
send- he was CC'd on the charge. Because you haven't had a meeting since.
Yeah, when was your last meeting?
It's the third Thursday, so our next meeting is next week, the 19th.
But
Our
when,
meeting last meeting was September,
in September. Okay, thank you.
we only meet once a month.
Okay,
So just a quick question of next steps is, did you want this published? And looking for 4 members?
yes, please.
So
Posted on the web.
I'll clean this up based on tonight, send it to you. And I say as soon as we can get people interested. Be good.
And if any of us have acquaintances that we know that possess some of these skill sets, let's reach out to them so we can help move along that application process.
So we'll set up interviews and things like that.
Yeah. Yes, Adrian?
No, it's us.
Okay, well,
I get to see the light bulb.
yeah, and share that. Okay. All right, so
Thanks for, one final question, is September, is March 15th too soon? Or we could say shall issue its first report? Yeah, just so it's
given where they're at.
So we should amend it to say shall issue its first report to the select board by
No later.
no later, no later.
Okay.
All right. You're-
Okey doke. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. All right, so let's move on to an update for the special town meeting date. So Nancy and I, in the last select board meeting, we talked about identifying a special town meeting date for the Hadley School project. And we were asked to go back and ask for some different dates, just because we felt the timeline was very short between the time in which MSBA would approve it and the actual vote for the ballot. So Nancy has done all her due diligence and has secured approval that the sound, the town clerk, and the moderator, and the high school gym are all available on either Monday, April 29th, which is immediately following the vote. I think the vote's on the 24th, the next vote, or May 6th. So either is up and available, and
they're both Mondays.
yes, they're both Mondays. We pushed it back to that as well.
School building committee was fine with either one of them.
Yeah.
Hadley School Building.
They had no issues. So, thoughts? Which one the board is first?
Both after the town election.
Mhm.
So that's.
They're after the town election?
No, before. They were before, right before the town.
Before the town
Yeah,
election.
yeah.
And both on Monday.
So if I recall the conversation last time, the May date seemed too close to the election date, whereas the 26th seems like it would give people enough time to.
The 29th.
Yeah,
29, 20, yeah, the 20.
that's where I would go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
All right, do I have a vote? Motion, sorry.
Move to schedule a special town meeting for Monday, April 29th, 2024.
Moved by Mr. Goodrich, second by Ms. Connolly. All in favor? Aye. All right, so we will let the committee know and give folks extra time to be educated. All right, and then Nancy, did you want to talk about selection, scheduling interviews?
Okay, next one.
Do you want to come back up? You don't have to.
I thought we were going on to the capital plan. I'm like, oh, this is next year. Pick my steps in, most exercise I've had in like, I don't know, 12 years. So, we issued an RFP for town council services, those, responses were due back on October 2nd, we had 3 responses. They're probably all familiar to you. Clifford and Kenny, who was our current labor council, responded. Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and McCain, who was our current town council, responded. And then Harris and Harrington, I don't know if I just destroyed that firm's name, also responded, and they had previously responded the last time we went out for request for proposal. So, Mary Sanzanito, the town accountant, and I went through them all and made sure that they provided all of the documents that they were required to provide, that they met the minimum qualifications, which basically, the biggest one was that somebody in the firm was a member of the bar in Massachusetts, and somebody in the firm could appear in federal court in Massachusetts. And all of those met those. So in your folders, you have 3 responses, and tonight we wanted to know if you wanted to move forward with scheduling of interviews and which firms you wanted to interview. And depending on the number of firms you choose, if you want to do it over 2 days, you just do it the single day. Lorraine had already found dates last meeting from you and location at the public safety complex emergency operations center.
Great. Thank you. So we only received 3 responses.
Correct.
Not a whole lot out there anymore.
I was gonna say, is that as the pool doing it?
We get it from KP, which
Okay.
is not surprising considering they're representing another town that we're involved in a lawsuit. Durensis is another one. We get it from Durensis, but they're more Metro West. It's just really just a dwindling pool. The Clifford and Kenny one actually is what's called a dual application. Clifford and Kenny would handle the general legal for the town. And Bob Galvin, who is our special counsel, would handle the land use portion of the town's business.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Okay. Is that in their response?
yes,
Okay, good. Okay.
that's kind of.
Which we just got this evening, so that we're not remiss.
So Murphy Hesse, we're all familiar with. Clifford Kenny, again, they do all legal, labor now. You're familiar with Attorney Galvin from the work he's done.
Right.
And Myers and Harrington is a firm that's been around for a while. They're in Wellesley. Good good references from people I've talked to, but I haven't done any business with them.
I think I recall that. They responded the last time.
They were one of the boutique firms.
Yeah. So what is the board's favor? Do you want to interview them in one evening from 6 to 9? Or do you want to set aside 2? Andrew?
What's your preference? Thoughts?
My preference is that we could do it in one evening. Second that.
I was gonna say we're about the bad
Yeah. That's
So and then maybe you remember stuff. I was like, one, didn't remember stuff.
I'd also like to at least have some consistent questions, like I think a good format that we've utilized in the past is to have, maybe 5 or 4 consistent questions and then open it up for anything additional that you personally want to discover from a firm. Is that amendment as well? Yes. Do you want to do it on the 18th or the 19th? What works for best for all? Right, we have both choices.
The 18th is Wednesday.
18th is Wednesday, 19th is Thursday.
And that Monday is the special town meeting,
Oh, yeah.
just so you know.
Do you want Thursday? Thursday? Oh, that's good, yes.
Sure.
Does that work?
Wednesday.
Does that work for you, Mrs. Canfield?
If
Does it? Yes.
I have
Well,
one.
please do. I'm sorry.
I have a block up for.
I did just say,
Yeah,
block another. Okay, all right, so we will move to interview the three town council applicants on October 19th at 6 P.M. in the Emergency Operations Center. You want to second that? Second.
I just have a question.
Yep. Oh, I guess we didn't need to vote.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, we
You
did.
answered my own.
You just need to vote.
Need a motion to
Yeah.
interview the three firms.
I just did that, so does somebody want to second my motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm
working
working with Ray about scheduling.
Okay. Thank you for that. Maybe we can work up a couple of questions.
Yes.
Yeah, if you guys want to, just send me, some questions and then we'll see the commonality and come up with 5 consistent ones and then keep the. Yeah, no, just send it to me and then we'll.
I gave away our question.
No, come up with like some broad-based, basic 5 questions, not, you can keep your personal ones, you don't have to share all that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Andrew, I believe you're up next, for a discussion and vote about the Central Field scoreboard. Andrew had, been working with the Recreation Department about the construction over at Central Field. They have, do not have sufficient funds for a scoreboard. So Andrew would like us to discuss, utilizing funds from the full power allocation that we have. For the results of the 2 million. Yes.
So, yes, thank you for that. I don't necessarily think we have to make a final decision tonight. I just don't want to waste any more Nick's time. Looking at this, I went back to Mark Novak, who's working on the new field to get more quotes. The original quote was $30,000 for a scoreboard. The latest quote now is $44,000 for a scoreboard. Working with Nick, there's most of the cost, not Jim about this, but it is the electrical work that happened, everything else. I talked to Nick. There's a few different options. One, there are solar options, where there's not electrical work there because we're talking about 10 watts of power. Or there's even portable scoreboards that maybe we should just take something around wheels that you've seen or maybe you haven't seen, and then that way it's not just for the one that's down there. He's looked at quotes, I've looked at quotes. They're under $4,000, they're battery operated there. That's where we're gonna. I just don't want to be looking and come back to us later and say, I don't think this would be a great idea. If this board thinks maybe we should look at other things. This is a direction we want to go, a more portable, smaller option.
Just remind me who's gonna be primarily playing on these fields?
The
JV baseball.
JV and softball.
Is it girls varsity softball?
The bus is probably down here, or I think it's gonna be. down
Okay, so
here.
they're both JV teams.
It's JV girls.
There's also soccer
And
on that field. Actually, the men's
softball
league.
go back there.
Okay.
Well, softball league.
Okay.
So, the solar, Andrew, you gotta get that from Mark. The solar option was just under 45. Soup to nuts, so.
45,000, the solar option.
Or permanently installed.
And this is more like a DPW type of thing?
Not even DPW, that's more of a, whoever's doing the game, pulling it out and doing it.
Yeah, that's what.
To me, that just, well, I'll just give you, sorry, just gonna jump in right here. The portable one to me just seems like we're risking damage after the second time it gets moved out there. I just don't have confidence in all the different user groups to take care of it. Where are we gonna store it? Who's gonna roll it out? Who's responsible for putting it back in? If they break it, who's responsible? It just seems to me to be a little risky and it'll end up costing us more money in the long run. But that's just my personal opinion on that one.
I'm, as you know, the last one to spend money.
You like
The
that?
total, no, the total cost of that project is almost $1 million. for another 45 out of a fund that we've been sitting on for 5 years.
It's worthless every day.
You know, if we're gonna do it,
Do it right.
I'm not sure individually, but we're gonna do it, let's do it right, put in the nice scoreboard, finish the project off. Instead of, as you said, Laura, we have this beautiful field, it's all done, it looks great, you know, like.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Does-
just have a problem with that.
I mean, and there are other companies that do top on there, it's permanent.
We'll have to bid it, this is just a super
Yeah.
nuts bid from a
Right.
company that does it at prevailing wage, so.
So you're really
yeah.
looking just for approval, for the tenor of the board to move forward, with the, anticipation of utilizing a portion of the funds from the Cape Brothers.
You're really, it's ridiculous that he didn't, for him to come back and say, I want tears, what I really think, or with this, I don't wanna waste his time,
Right, yeah.
that's all.
My only question would be, are there any MIAA regulations involved in scoreboards?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's a good question, I'm sure we can check it out.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there were a lot of discussions when we did the field over here about doing a video board. Raising money for that, so there's nothing that I know about scoreboard unless you're holding a state tournament or state meet.
Well,
Yeah,
that's all I'm
probably, yeah.
asking is because sometimes they do have rules.
Not that I'm aware of.
My 2 cents on it is, we could, if the recommendation is to do the high-end, a permanent board, I would definitely prefer to, pay the extra for the solar. As long as we think it's gonna be.
Those are good points.
Quality, yeah.
Those are good points.
Susan? What?
I agree. But with the permanent board, yeah.
But I assume solar still involves electrical work of some kind. Just-
Very little.
You have to,
It's still, there's no trenching, there's no laying conduit, there's no, we'd have to go out there, if we wanna do electrical, we'd have to go dig up a portion of what we just did.
right.
We don't wanna do that, so.
I just wanna make sure too that we're really, sensitive to where they're placed. Because of all the residents
Yes.
there, I mean, this is not a well shielded field.
So last,
And I know we have a lot of issues with the one out back with the noise when it doesn't get turned off. It hums. Which Bill does have to go out and turn it off, like he fixed it today, but sometimes they leave it on and it hums, so I don't want that. We should just take a look at whatever.
We can
manufacturer
update it.
That one is, don't do that, don't do that.
we didn't update plan from Nick, last time I saw it, if you're sitting in the parking lot looking back towards the street, it was kind of almost in the middle between the two fields. So it'd be a V, so it'd be pointing at both fields. Two sides, that was the last one I saw,
With the signage.
So there's one, if you're standing in the parking lot, again, the Lawson Tower's behind you, there's a baseball field and a softball field to your right and a baseball field to your left. So this would be a V between the two, one pointing to the baseball field and one pointing towards the two fields on the right, so it'd be used for both sides.
But more in the center or?
In between, yeah, the center between the two. Nick would have that.
Well, we'll want Alright,
Well, and there are no lights down there, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it shining at night. I mean, it might shine at five
Just
in
make
the
sure
afternoon,
it's
but I don't, they playing baseball?
Yeah, in summertime, they'll be out there until 7:30 o'clock in summertime.
okay, so I don't think we need to vote, really. We just, right? I don't think we need to vote, it's not gonna really vote yet.
Right.
Okay, just the
Thank you.
agreement to move forward.
Receive in case.
Yes, exactly. Okay,
We've agreed that there's funding sources acceptable.
yes,
Yes.
okay. All right. You're up.
Yes.
Oh, boy. You want me to sit over here or can I stay right now?
Stay where you are, you like.
Required, we are presenting to you tonight, my recommendations for the FY 25 capital plan. I believe we'll talk about FY 25. Your 5-year capital plan is $255.4 million. Your FY 25 capital plan request was 148.2, and I recommended 142.6. The lion's share of that is obviously the Hadley Cushing new school, which is at about $120 million. We continue to invest in the water system. continue to invest in equipment. We continue to incorporate the facilities maintenance plan into the capital plan. As we talked about before, town meeting directed us to do a facilities plan, we've done it, and now we put it in the capital plan every year so they can see that we're living up to our promise to fund our facilities maintenance. We continue to maintain Forest Shore roadway and sidewalk, and we use available funds whenever possible. Next slide, please. Just a graphic on where the money is, who's asking for it. Again, the lion's share is in the school department, 126 million, 120 million of that is for the Hadley Christian School. Engineering, that's almost all Forest Shore. Then of course your water and sewer departments have substantial increases in their budget. Next slide, please. Yeah, just a graphic capital cost per year. The next one will show you capital cost by department for this year. 148 million requested, 122 million is for the schools, 120 million of that is the Hadley Christian building. There's also money for phase 3 of the locker room project, 650,000 in there in schools for ADA compliance, Wampatuck, and a lot of technology money in the school budget.
Is that all sitting in school?
That's all in that education pie chart. Again, just a nice chart showing what I'm recommending, where it is buildings. The lion's share, once again, is going to be that school, where the money's coming from, borrowing debt exclusion, $120 million. Borrowing supported by enterprise funds, $11,577,000, that's your water and sewer departments. Supported by the tax levy, 5.89, that's under the levy borrowing. Retained earnings, free cash, and revolving funds will gain the rest of the year. General fund is 129.8 million, 120 million of that again is the new school. There is money in there for Forest Shore. There is money in there for those school projects that I already mentioned. We continue to invest in equipment. I believe the only equipment that I'm recommending borrowing for would be the new fire truck, which is, I believe, $840,000 off the top of my head. Yeah, they keep getting, it's just not even trickling up, leaking up.
Where's this one slated for?
So it'll be the first line equipment, so what they do is that goes first line, that replaces the truck, and then the last truck goes down. Yeah, goes out, so they move them all around, and the worst truck in the fleet then gets got here. So we'll keep doing that. Strong commitment to fleet maintenance, we're doing very well with our fleet. One thing I'm actually very proud of this year, Kevin, Kathy, and I, the state put on a demonstration of battery operated landscaping equipment. We were very skeptical. We went and looked. Stuff is actually fantastic. It's slightly more expensive. It's not slightly more expensive. It's a lot more expensive than gas equipment. But we were able to demo a couple of pieces of equipment. The batteries were robust. They lasted for a full day of work. They did some really tough grass that we had. So I am recommending that we purchase at least one of those this year. They're very quiet. So our thought was we'd use those around the schools, around municipal buildings. But, try to go greener. We'll invest in one of those and bring it in. So that.
Who's the manufacturer?
There's various ones. Almost everybody who makes the regular landscaping stuff that we buy, Kubota, Green, they all make these, John Deere. So he did specify one, but we'll have to go out and bid it. But amazing how quiet they are compared to the gas.
And would we be able to charge them with our chargers that we already have installed?
Yep. Well, no, wouldn't be charging these. They'd be charged down the highway. They come with a charge, you plug them in, and they charge them. So they actually had some ones that were almost like Roombas. We electronically mark out where you want it to mow and then you just leave it. It goes back and forth. Really didn't see the utility for us for that right now, probably some in the future, but a real robust, nice, regular lawnmower we're doing around the school buildings. We do a lot of mowing, especially in the spring, kids in school, I think this will be a big help. So we're pretty proud of that. I think that'll be really, really nice when we get it. Might take a while. Forest Shore, we continue to invest in Forest Shore, as you know, it keeps getting more and more expensive. We continue our 200,000. We're recommending 4 million for the next phase of the ocean side. We have $5 million in a grant right now for the current ocean side that we're trying to get moving along. permitting. Representative Kenny has been very helpful in that, but we continue to move down Oceanside towards what would be what I call the Army Corps project. We do have a call with the Army Corps later on this week, so hopefully make some final decisions on whether or not we're gonna stay with the Army Corps. I'll go on, but for sure, it's just getting more and more expensive. We really don't have a choice, but we're gonna have to get kind of creative and think some of the fun.
So this though all addresses Oceanside, the original part, not the Cedar Point part.
Not the Cedar Point part. So that the plan at the time I've been working on was working down Oceanside
Right.
to where, what I call the Cedar Point Park, and then the Cedar Point would be the Army Corps, would be the next project, so. This continues to work down there. The issue, one of the issues with the Cedar Point project, their proposal is it leaves a gap in the middle that's not addressed at all, so. But this would be the Oceanside. We do have $2 million in foreshore authorization, seawall authorization, that if we decide to move away from the Army Corps and design the seawall ourselves, we could use that to start the design work. We can also use that to apply for, dam and seawall does have some grant money for design. We are nowhere near applying for any capital money, because we don't have a project to apply for, that's just really decided. We continue our roadways, funding the operating budget, the annual capital and estimated chapter 90. We also, as you know, do a lot of roadway with our water and sewer projects. That's
Can we
what
make sure we do that? Can we continue? I always feel like, we just continue to understand where we're working for FY25, what those. roads
Yeah,
are.
the list up, yeah.
Yeah,
It's, we'll give you the list, and then it really depends on when we start doing it, what's the cost, but it's just something I can drop, something I can add. There's $3 million recommended for Scituate Harbor dredging. That's recommended. We wouldn't borrow the whole $3 million. That's always contingent upon getting grants from the dam and seawall. This would be for dredging of the entire harbor. It would be done in phases, but we would dredge the entire harbor. All the way down at the lobster dock, down in the end of Cole Parkway. Coffee corner is getting bad around the dock. Obviously, our fishing pier is getting bad, and just the channel itself needs to be dredged, but this would be the entire thing. And we also have facility improvements of 28,000, sorry. Water enterprise, another big nut for water enterprise. $3.3 million for water main replacement, $3.3 million for the new storage tanks that we're recommending. We'll probably be coming in the spring to rescind the Hummerock water main project. We've authorized $6.3 million. That's getting up to be closer to $9 million at this point. Really just doing the math on how much water we would save that we're buying from Marshfield and what the payback on that would be at $9 million. None of us would ever live to see it. So I think that's a project we've asked Plymouth County to consider that as an opera project, because it is designed at this point. I don't think they're gonna be able to spend all the opera funds that they have signed to all the cities and towns, so we're hoping we might get a big chunk at the end of it. They're trying to spend some of the opera money to get it out.
and do we know, I haven't seen a meeting request come over from the Plymouth County. Do we have an idea of their timeline as to when they determine all that? Is that 2024 that we
And
have to
we spent-
disperse all that?
It has to be allocated by 12/31/2024 and spent by 12/31/2026.
And spent, okay.
We have requesting for $100,000 in regional money from them for the regional sewer project. Actually, it's $100,000 for us and $100,000 for Hull, because they're in Plymouth County, what has to be done.
Mhm.
They've only done one regional project right now, and I think Father Bill's place on Main Street, with the Brockton project, so they haven't spent any of that money at all yet, so hopefully they're gonna get going. Sewer requests, the big one on the sewer is $2.2 million to design and engineer North Scituate sewer expansion. That was, I know, part of the board's highest priority for sewer. It was a little bit further down in the sewer departments, but we moved that up. Hopefully we'll have some, by the time we get this money and we start work, we'll have some definitive direction. I've asked for a meeting for the regional sewer project. I haven't heard back from anybody yet. I have talked to Hull a little bit. We're hopefully gonna sit down the next couple of weeks with the town manager to talk. As I've said, simplified, it's just a matter of which way you're gonna tilt the sewer, right? Which way is it? So,
Thank you.
Transfer station enterprise, Really recommending the new gate card access and the cameras. The gate down there is a mess. I think if you were born in this town, you get a key to it. You'll have a lot of security down there, who goes in and out, there's no cameras. So we really want to control, make sure we're controlling the access, who gets in, when they get in. We have a record of who goes in.
You
So
find that unauthorized people go in?
we don't know. But if you look at that fence, it's really
Yeah.
not a whole lot of obstruction to anybody. So we just want to make sure, I think it's really important. We've done it down in the highway department, we know how to track fence in the highway department. Make sure we know who goes in and out to keep track of our equipment, things like that, so. I think that'll be a big thing, and it really,
I assume we're not worried about people taking things out of there.
but, I mean, we do have some vehicles down there, plows, things like that, you know, things that are movable.
I am sure.
They, for the most part, yeah, people will be dropping things off. Although the make it, take it, or whatever you call it, was always popular for years, but then it just became a place where people dump things that they didn't want to pay to get rid of, so why it's Wooders Walk, really not a whole lot for Wooders Walk this year, just what's in their facilities maintenance plan. We will start talking with Wooders Walk about issuing the debt that everybody's already authorized for a new irrigation system there. That'll be a big,
They think they can get through another year with that.
we haven't even done anything with it, so they need to start designing it. They have the authorization already, so we probably have to go out with an RFP at some point.
It's already designed.
It's already designed.
Oh, okay.
Let's go with an RFP.
You really didn't teach this year.
Right.
No, I mean,
You never know. You never know.
you know, we did a water study 4 or 5 years ago. In a nutshell, the water study said in a range, get plenty of water, if it doesn't, you gotta conserve.
It's the old story.
I'm really glad you spent all night on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the well 18B, when we get that up and running, that will be supplying backwash, when we backwash the filters, we're pumping that water in a sedimentation basin over at Widows Walk, and then the cells are gonna pump that. So that'll give them some water, but I think the new irrigation system will allow them to use the water they have a lot more efficient. So that'd be a good thing. We try to use our available funds whenever possible. Nancy combs all the unspent articles. We go to all departments. You haven't spent this, you haven't spent this, what's this? And we try to make sure that our borrowing stays basically at the same level every year. One project that's not on here that may get added back, may not. Police department is looking for $2.6 million for a 4-lane shooting range, which is basically just like a big shipping container where we can do all our training. It's getting hotter and hotter to find a place where the officers can go shoot. We pay them overtime to go.
And where would that be housed?
That would be at the facility. We have a place up there we could put it. But to do a 4-lane, even a 2-lane would be 1.6 million. So we've approached really 4 other communities looking to see if they're interested in buying in. We would have them help pay the capital costs. There'd be plenty of use where you could go, but really, it's just getting really hard to find a place for the officers to go and shoot. You also have to do night qualifications now. That can be done on the trailer. They're really, really slick, useful with today's law enforcement. But to do it ourselves just doesn't make sense. So until we get a little more buy-in from some of our neighboring communities, I didn't want to just put it on the plan sitting out there by itself.
So is Mark working on that right now?
We're working on that right now. I've had conversations with Director Noel and Marshfield, and we've got email conversations with Handy. So, and if it's a 4-lane, again, it's just different shooting lanes. There's plenty of time for everybody to use
Where
it.
did you put it?
The space out back to put it?
Oh, back here.
No, behind.
Behind the public safety building.
Thank you.
If we get it, you guys come out and shoot. I got to shoot the portable one we had last year.
Is it enclosed?
Yeah, it's all enclosed and soundproof. Maintenance is low key. But it's really,
Didn't they used to shoot down here or under the police station?
they probably had a shooting range under the police station, but then that gets filled up with lead, which is
Hard to remove.
not any good, not any rare.
Yeah.
I can send you some links to what it looks like. It really is a pretty slick thing. I'm in favor of it, but I just don't think it's doable on our own. We need someone else to buy into that to make it. And then as Mara said, if we have a couple of towns buy in, we also make it available to someone else on a rental basis where they would pay for us. We also have to pay for, you have to have a range master there, so they would have to pay the cost of our range master.
I agree, and I think we all agree. that the regional is-
The police chiefs are all interested, the town manager's like, I need a little more information on what it's gonna be. Usually when I tell them they can come shoot, actually, I want just a little more. But I think it's something, it might not be for the annual, maybe something that we're looking at the special. No towns, but really trying to stretch every dollar we can. We had another good year free cash wise. So we're using that while we can to replace the equipment that we need to replace. We know we have some lean free cash here with these big building projects coming off our books that we don't count. So, I think it's a good plan. I think the big, obviously, the big, point of debate is gonna be the school. That's the real big one.
And so Jim, the 120 million, that's the total cost.
Yes.
It's not including or taking out the reimbursement, but we
No,
have to include it. We have
You
to
approve the
borrow it,
entire cost and then you get
And then we
reimbursed.
get reimbursed.
Anybody want to start with any questions? Projects that they
Do you have access to the,
site.
to the second year using the software?
Yeah. I sent that all to you, though, so you didn't delete it, I think it's scanned. Spam.
I think it was even better this year. I think the
Of course,
comics are getting used to it, so they're putting more information there, especially the vehicles. We're getting more pictures of the equipment, what it looks like, what to replace it. So I think every year we use that, it's gonna get better and better in terms of how useful it is. The capital, I think really liked it last year, the capital budget committee.
And it is public facing right now.
And it is public facing, right? So people can go online and see what we're recommending, what the costs are. So.
Well, for me, from the website, that might happen.
Well, the scan was really nice to read it, so.
Andrew, any questions? Things that you know.
Yes, there will be, in given time.
So the police range is the only one that you.
The large one that I recommend,
I'm sorry?
one of the, it's probably the largest, not the largest, but it's one of the largest apartment requests that was recommended.
A lot of big expenses in 2026. Another big one. Okay, Susan, any questions? Yet. Right, well, obviously, this will go through a lot of review, you're presenting to their capital planning committee tomorrow.
Presenting the capital tomorrow, and then they'll start their hearing schedule. I know they're gonna be. Again, they don't believe that the facilities plan should be in the capital, I disagree. I think that was an agreement that we made with town meeting, that we would fund this. And again, the schools will probably be big.
Yeah, have a question?
That was actually a good question about the data about whether it's operating capital. You've kept those, the ones they flagged last year are in here still. How many years left are on facilities plan, that plan?
It's year 4.
So
So 16 more years after this.
It's not a lot. Some point we'll plan to update it.
Yeah.
Let's have something that's updated, but not a lot.
Okay. I kind of themes me the not fixing the leak from Pomeroy, but there's no return on investment there, that's.
We've talked about it, we just can't do all the things that the water department needs to do. So they have to be prioritized, and that's just getting bumped down. The water hours is more critical. You know, get a new one built, so we can fix the other one up, and fix it. And then the continued water main replacement out here, to deal with brown water issues, to deal with distribution issues. Just
One last question more about burden on residents, so, and then, by the way, love it. The, popular annual financial statement, goes to the unpopular one.
Plus the one that's impossible to read, unless you have CPA.
Yeah, so in this, the long-term debt that you've outlined does not reflect the,
What I recommended.
the water treatment,
Correct, it hasn't.
because we haven't done it yet. But that's gonna put a large increase on that.
That's a debt exclusion, so that's outside of the levy, and it will affect the taxpayer.
Right.
Doesn't impact the
That's
budget,
question.
doesn't impact the water rates, it doesn't impact.
Right, so it's not really,
Right.
okay,
So it just gets tacked on, so.
but it's still not out of the.
From a budgetary standpoint, it's neutral, but from a tax impact standpoint, obviously the resident will pay. And that is not hit at all yet.
Earliest you might see that would be in fiscal 25 and just a piece of it.
Yeah,
Right, I know you did give it, but
Stop borrowing.
charge at some point.
Who trust we keep
Okay.
it all.
Well, I need to dig into more of this too. Andrew, you're capital, right?
Correct.
Can I ask you again, what does capital planning not think should be included in here? Is that
So
townwide facilities?
Facilities.
Yeah, so
Townwide facilities plan year.
So in some of the individual items within the facilities plan, don't raise if you brought them forward by themselves to be a capital plan.
Right.
Okay, but town meeting directed the board to do a facilities plan. Which we went and did. My belief is, we now put this here where they can see it, number one, so we're transparent that we are living up to our responsibilities in our financial plan and our facilities plan. Two, if I pull those out and I put that $1,000 door replacement over here in the facilities budget, doesn't have to get spent on that door. So the budget now can go anywhere, whereas if it's in this capital, Nancy and I have been very clear, it says this is what it's being spent on, that's what it's gotta be spent on. And then it carries over in case, because obviously there's a bunch of stuff in here, Kevin might not get to all of them all.
Right.
Schools might not get to them all, it carries forward, so we can go back at those later on.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Thank you. Karen, your question?
Yeah, just a follow-up on Humrock. What impact will it have on the residents of Humrock if we don't do the water main replacement down there? I'm assuming that whatever the water loss is on us.
The water loss will be paid by everybody. So that's, we don't tax Humrock separately, it all washes into the bill.
Right.
It's just when you look at our lost water, because we have to track that. I think it's about 15%.
50, yeah.
But
it won't have an impact on their water service, their quality of their water,
No.
pressure, yeah.
We actually put pressure reducing valves on the water mains in Humrock because the pressure was so high. Popping things.
Yeah.
We've actually reduced the pressure in Humrock.
So the residents of Humrock shouldn't think that they're not being well served by us at least putting this project off.
No.
Thank you.
good question.
Anything else?
What are your discussion?
Well, I just don't.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah,
There's a lot here.
we have plenty of time. to
I
do the
anticipate
review.
such that December 19th, according to the schedule Nancy has, is when the capital will come back and
Well,
present.
thank you, I know it's a lot of work. and
So,
putting it all
2 months.
together. But don't you feel pretty good behind you?
It's not really done. And we're living tomorrow night.
I know, but at least, you know, you're on your way. We'll make for not as much of a crazy fall. All right. With that, we will go to the new business, which is just some one day. One day, wine and malt. So the first one we have is an event that's taking place for the Knights of Columbus at St. Mary's, which is a tailgate party to watch the Patriots. on Sunday, October 29th, from 12:30 to 3:30 PM. I think they actually do this annually. So I see that they have all their paperwork in order. The event actually goes from 12:30 to 4, but the alcohol pours only from 12:30 to 3. Any questions?
Who are they playing?
They have a liability insurance policy on hand. Okay. All right, do I have any questions or I'll entertain a motion?
Move to approve a one-day wine and malt license for the Knights of Columbus at Mary's Parish Center at 2 Edward Foster Road for a tailgate party on Sunday, October 29, 2023, from 12:30 to 3:30 p.m.
That's against the Dolphins.
Moved by Ms. Canfield, second by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
They already played them.
They play twice in the division, so they're playing in Miami.
Oh,
Just
What could go wrong?
the way the Patriots are playing, the Dolphins are playing, it could be short tailgates.
Maybe the license to people on curb.
well, we wish the Knights of Columbus luck, that at least and raise some money in Missouri. While they watch the game. Okay, so next is a procedural vote that comes before us quite often, which is to a disclosure of a municipal employee of financial interest in a municipal contract as required by general law, chapter 268A, section 20B. Basically, we have a municipal employee, Bill Rector, who works up at the high school, who is now also leading a course at the senior center. It was so exciting to see.
Very exciting.
Yeah, so very happy for Bill and happy for all the seniors who are going to be led by an excellent conductor. Any questions?
None.
Motion?
Move that the select board, as required by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 26A, have reviewed the disclosure form from the following municipal employee who seeks to provide personal services to Scituate Senior Center / Council on Aging. The exemption under section chapter
Section 20B.
Section 20B is approved for the following municipal employee: Bill Richter, Senior Center Forest Leader / Public School Forest Teacher Director.
Motion by Ms. Connolly, seconded by Ms. Canfield, all in favor? Aye. And then we have some election workers that we need to approve, who will be joining us. So Kathy has added that she requests that the above registered voters be appointed as election workers to be added to her supplemental election worker list for the period of 2024 in preparation for the March presidential primary, most especially with the vote by mail ballots and the in-person early voting. So we're looking to appoint Nicole Damari, Kathleen S. McCarthy, and Susan Sampson. Do I have any questions? Motion? Motion?
Move to appoint Nicole Damari, Kathleen S. McCarthy, and Susan Sampson as election workers for 2023 to 2024 with our thanks.
Moved by Ms. Connolly, second by Mr. Goodrich. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So first we'll move, do we have any liaison reports?
Did you want to add something to?
I do, but I'm gonna do it after we do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for remembering.
Two of my liaisons will be here tonight.
So you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Karen?
Just two things. I wanted to just inform you that the Council of Aging, as I told you before, has been going through the accreditation process, and there will be a site visit on the 26th and 27th. So we're getting towards the end of that process. And just some things that happened, I think you're probably all aware, is the dedication of the Roseway happened last weekend, which was the new park area, the new seating area behind the library. And it's just gorgeous. If you haven't gone down there, you should get down and see that. And I attended in person, and I know some of you were online for, Mass DEP was here on Thursday to give an update to residents and have a listening session for the comment period for the next steps for closing out the landfill on, the old landfill on Stockbridge Road. So that went really well, and they brought all of their officials down, and we can watch the meeting online if you like, and public comment period is open for 2 weeks, whatever days.
We did a really good job.
Yeah, 1 second, I have a question too. 21 days, that takes us beyond special time meeting, I guess, just.
No, that's
We're appropriating money.
We're appropriating money because we know there's more to do
right.
when DEP gets back to us, so.
Yeah.
The 250, you have some bills we already owe, that'll keep us going, and then hopefully we'll get to a point where probably in the fall, we say, okay, this is what has to happen, this is what's gonna cost, but then moving forward to final.
You have a question, Karen?
Yeah, this was the meeting well attended.
Yes, I'd say 40 maybe?
Yeah, 30, 40,
Yeah.
with all the officials and everybody that's
With the
coming, all the
officials,
officials,
I'd say
everybody.
30.
Including
What
officials.
percentage of our residents?
There was yeah, I'd say
So 15 or 20 neighbors?
easily, yeah, I don't, the
Yeah,
lion's
right.
share of the folks there were residents. And then we were, we had representatives, attend the DEP representatives from, Senator O'Connor's and Rep. Carney's office were there. And the concerned residents had 3 members of council there. And then we had three staff, 3 town employees, and the council, and I was there in person.
I called in and there were probably 10 to 15 people that had called in too. Yeah. Which was a miracle because the Zoom link was not posted.
Whose responsibility is that, DEP's?
I thought it was most,
It was on DEP's, but it wasn't on our website.
What's that? Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, we had a message saying it was up. We just. Anyway, comms person.
Alright. Good, are you good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Andrew, anything?
We talked some of the work department things, but also more discussions about the last meeting, I talked about beach permit stickers and some changes. At some point,
Maureen has those on some future board
I
meeting.
think it's on next.
Good.
The waterways, I attended in person and, there was much discussion on Maritime Center parking lot, which was flooded or has been having flooding issues. And we will be following up the town, Jim and Kevin will be following up at the next meeting with, detailed information and a plan to mitigate that. And then the other issue that came up, that I think is worth reporting on is the Wi-Fi number, internet number, so.
Yeah, what happened with that?
The
Contractor.
provider went out of business.
So the contractor, the provider went out of business?
we had a provider that we were working with to put the equipment up, and we sent them all the stuff, it's all proceeded. Right back,
And that was this summer, right?
so we'll have to re-procure.
Then why can't we just boost our own internet and blast it out? Like, can we get on our own network and create some kind of a booster? Why don't we go to a separate Wi-Fi provider? Should we look back at that? This is taking a long time.
We don't have to talk to Mike, but I'm not sure we have the bandwidth down there, I'll have to talk to Mike, I don't know.
I mean, this is just taking, what, 2 years, 3 years to fix that?
And that has nothing to do with the stuff, the little cell and stuff at the harbor.
No.
Well, yes and no, I mean, if you put 5G in the harbor, then the question would be, do you really need to boost the Wi-Fi? We've actually got out, like Michelle has gone out with the harbor master because they have iPads for all their moorings.
But that's not the issue, we're understanding it's more the issue of the fishermen and getting on their systems and.
Yeah, I mean, I
Isn't
think
that
there's recreational issue with recreational boaters, so people come in here, transient boaters as well as economic development. There's issues with people who have their town residents that have their boats down there. There's issues for the fishermen to submit their catch report, so they get back to the dock and have to submit a report, and they can't do that. They then have to go home and submit the report.
Because they do that on advice that
They
they
do.
have some,
Correct,
so
yes.
that's just what we.
So, I mean, and then there's
We
also
have 5G
people
down there.
that do the moorings, the people that do the moorings, like meaning the coordinates and all that. So, I mean, it's something that's very important to like a vibrant harbor, and many towns have it, so we have to figure it out. We do have to figure it out.
Okay.
Sure. Just to push on enough, like, was there any funding, like, do we expend any funds for this, or where does that go back to, or I mean, if you have a contract with Bales, we didn't have it.
No, but we did appropriate it.
We weren't spending any money on that, it was. He was gonna put the equipment up, they'd get 2 hours free, and over 2 hours they would get charged for it. So there was, we weren't expending any money on it at all.
So it's
But we did
user-based.
appropriate, so then, so what are the next steps? If we've already appropriated, we just go back with it.
No.
I was curious about the.
We have to re-procure, yeah, have to go re-procure.
I just wanted to, sort of revisit our, tree issue, the memorial tree on Lawson, Common. So we had asked Doug and the historical commission to opine on it. Which he did, he sent us a note last Wednesday, which I had, the rain copy, I apologize, I didn't get to some. But basically they, you know, their opinion is from a historical perspective, and that, from a historical perspective, that this shouldn't go there. But then there's nowhere elsewhere as to any other kind of recommendation, with regards to it. And I'd like to close this out for those folks, with the tree, just like to get a sense of the board. I mean, I personally think it should go back. We voted on it and we approved it. And we just make sure that we get a certified or whatever, you know, dwarf tree, because it seemed to be that there's, you know, to be that the tree was too large and whatnot, but I don't know where else we would put it to have electricity, that they was one of their prerequisites. And I'd like to at a future date also that, you know, since we've already voted on this, I think we owe it to them to put it back. But then I would like to also maybe in the future discuss putting some kind of a moratorium on anything on Boston until the, I'm gonna say the Connors Memorial, I don't know, it's a different name, but the Connors Memorial is actually completed, so we have an idea of what that looks like and what the impact of that's going to be in real life, even though we have it on paper. So that's sort of where I'm sitting. I don't know what the sense is with the rest of the board with regards to this issue, so I think we need to resolve it.
I'll jump in. I really appreciate the historical commission putting this document together. I think it's really useful. You know, I think there are a bunch of lessons learned on this, as far as, you know, just like we talked about earlier today, getting releases for the historical society organized, that, you know, getting the whole memorial policy done. This is a really good, yeah, Lorraine, we gotta talk about those policies at some point. This is a really good wake-up call that we need to get those ducks in a row. That said, we did not have the benefit of this information. We made the best decision possible at the time it was brought to our attention, and I think we should honor the that decision on the board. And the only question I have is, I don't recall the lighting of that tree as part of the original goal. I just don't remember that. Nothing else.
I don't either, and we could pull it and look at it, but I just remember that mentioning that when we're here.
Yeah, because there's no other monument in that park that is illuminated. So I was just a little curious.
Well, there is that light pole that illuminates the Lawson, the pool. actually drove by today, there is a big light pole that.
Does the elephants?
The elephant, thank you. Pole, yeah,
Huh.
there is, it's
I
in the
just checked it
middle,
out.
that's probably what they tie into, I would imagine, some kind of source. Not being an electrician.
Yeah, if the right specimen is in there, I do. I don't think that, that we made a decision that was so egregious, that it shouldn't go, it shouldn't be on it, but, I think that the comments from the historic are very well taken, and, we should fold that into a more broad policy. I agree with you, I mean, that we should give them the comfort of saying a pause, and so we get those ducks in a row.
I have to say, I think the board made a decision to put that tree in Boston Common without having all of the information pass that we should have. And I was part of that decision, so I'm not making any excuses. It's unfortunate the way the whole thing played out, but I do believe in my heart that there are more appropriate places for that memorial tree. We have the entire town hall complex all the way up to Cushing School. We've got plenty of space. We could give it a real prominent place. So I can't agree that we should just go back and put it back. And that's just my opinion. So.
Just gonna take us time to figure out where to put it, right? Well, I think we've had
If
some.
we walk around here,
Yeah.
you know, we control these grounds. And it is a class gift, and it just seems to me as though. And like I said, I really think there's some pretty prominent places somewhere in all of this property where it would have the right recognition and people would see it. So, just my opinion.
Yeah, and can we, before I go to this side, can we pull the application, Lorraine, at all to see if there was any, I don't recall lighting either being a prerequisite.
I'll check with Michelle. She was
Yeah.
working with them on it. I don't know what was.
Yeah, can we ask Michelle if she should pull that, just so we all clear on that, you know, whether that's a prerequisite or not.
And there's certainly lighting opportunities around properties here.
Yeah. Andrew, any thoughts?
I agree in the sense that we didn't have all the information, and I think like that too. The other thing to be, that I think of is that if this area was so critical, so important, and no one from either historical society or the commission reached out to oppose it at the time, it just speaks to another larger problem that A, I think we should have a moratorium going forward. But B, it, for the longest time, it really wasn't a huge issue. It's given the scope of everything else happening in the world and in town. I think it's probably misplaced to be there. But I'm not gonna lose sleep that there's a beautiful tree that probably should be in a better location. Maybe that sounds, terrible to say, but I'm not. I'll go to bed happy if there's a tree there. That's, but I agree, like, we probably should have done it, but putting it back, we did it and we can put it back.
Susan?
Actually, I didn't vote on it in the first place. I'm sure I would have. No, I'm sure I would have if I was there.
An objective,
I do think it's important. I totally would have voted for it. I mean, I went back and watched it. I would have voted for it too, the way it was presented. No one objected. I agree if it was, there's some holes in our policies, clear holes in our policies, and I am also happy to volunteer to help, with the policies. I know that's a side note. I just don't think I think it's tough to say, put it in another place after we put it there. I think it's really hard to do that. So, I'm leaning toward the put it back. It's amazing that it actually got taken. Generally, we're never doing it that fast, so.
So if I hear the tenor of the majority of the board, it is to put it back. I think we have to get a new one. I don't wanna dig up the one that they have that's wrong and put it there, right?
And there seems to be, even today, some question as to, some people say it was a dwarf, some people say it wasn't a dwarf. I personally,
I know,
would never have suggested replacing a dwarf with a dwarf, so that's absurd, but,
DNA sample.
I can't,
Well,
but I,
and more trauma if we move a tree twice.
right, exactly. That's
Probably
why
kill the
I
tree.
was saying, well, that'll just kill it.
You're gonna kill the tree.
So Jim, we would probably have to absorb that cost since it's our state. Put it on the select board.
beautification had it on there.
She's not
Everyone had
that
to
much.
take care of it.
What?
Tree's not that much.
No, I know, but I just. Yeah, we should do that. All right, so who planted it to begin with, the beautification?
Beautification bought it, I think
DPW.
DPW planted it, they have
Okay.
Green York planted it.
So I'll take and I'll reach out to Sitka and I'll reach out to, the memorial folks.
What about, although, is there a more desirable location for it to be planted than where it was?
Oh, you just heard the majority of the word.
Oh, I think you mean
Are you-
at the end.
maybe not.
Do you mean that
At
Boston? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we need to go look.
That's where this, how this all started.
I know. Yeah, so we can take a look too. I'll call and make sure it's not, hey, just go anywhere. Maybe we just take a look and make sure people are amenable to the location.
And I ask a further question, Paula? Jim, did we ever get that memo of understanding between us and the Farmers Memorial Group? That you were gonna draft?
No, we've not.
And I'm asking the question because, we have no agreement with them. There's no time limit on it. I mean, I just think we should have a much firmer understanding as to who's responsible for what. And we don't.
No, that's a great observation.
That's a really good thing, but we did, I believe that the benefit is our approval was contingent upon acceptable ending.
Right.
So
That just hasn't worked out yet.
that doesn't work.
No, but that's good.
More agreements.
Okay. All right, thank you for entertaining that. Thank you, Doug, for your note. With that, correspondence,
Yes, we have a couple things. From the Plymouth County Commissioners, are welcoming the mayor of Donald to Scituate on October 15th, so that's right around the corner. And they're doing the board of Scituate and then dinner with dancing, etc. at the Iberian Tavern, so.
it's nice that they're coming here.
Very nice that they're coming here. Let's see. And then we have one other correspondence regarding the traffic signal on Route 3A from Mass DOT. Not really responsive to the questions.
So that's an inquiry about Manlock Road.
Yeah, about Manlock Road.
And the traffic light, so we actually have a meeting scheduled, well, tentatively scheduled for November 3rd. Center of Honor, the DOT from here, for the use of this time. Because of the announcements.
Great. I didn't know that.
Just keep kicking the can down the road.
May I ask a question about it? Is there, they must have metrics, right?
Well, they do, and we've done that in the past, and that's why it's
We
just so
don't-
infuriating that they just don't look at what was done in the past.
I mean, how many
And we have a letter
accidents
from them
they
saying
have
that
to be?
evaluation, and here they're just saying, let's do that.
And I just want to ask this question. When we're looking at that intersection, in terms of accidents, statistics, et cetera, did we add to that the Booth Hill statistics as well? Because it seems to me as though if we got a stoplight in one or the other place, it will automatically help the other intersection. But if we're only looking at the intersection, obviously I'm speaking of what I don't know. If they're only looking at one or the other, but not both together, I don't think we're getting the true picture of what's going on.
They looked at the whole corridor.
They looked at the whole corridor, there's already a signal plan for the end of Henry Turner Bailey. Part of the project coming in from Cohasset, so you wouldn't put one at Blue Hill, be too close. So if you put it at Man Lot, you get that break,
Distance.
break,
Right.
which would provide for people, well, their own safety study that they did said the next step would be to look at these intersections for signalization. Which, that's what you said, looking at the signalization or the ubiquitous roundabout or whatever. But if you just look at straight statistics, the intersection with the largest number of accidents is the signalized intersection out front.
Oh, this one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
It's not.
Stand there, hold a sign
Square it
right
off.
enough, you see it all.
Well, it should help that too, hopefully, slow people down.
Striping could fix that, we're waiting for them to get back to us on that, but going southbound, it's one lane, but you have a lane going left, you have a lane going straight, you have a lane going right up First Parish. Same going west, on First Parish.
You know what we should get to? We should probably get a temporary, we can talk about this when they come, but a temporary signal ahead, though people blow through that red light, like both ways, all the
This one?
time. This one out here, First
Yeah.
Parish, yeah,
Yeah.
on 3A.
What happens is you have two cars looking to take a left in front of each other. And it's only one lane, so this car's going left on the First Parish, the car going left on the First Parish goes. Meanwhile, there's a car coming down, blowing by the car going left on the inside. That's where you get the accidents.
Yeah.
So that whole intersection needs to be.
Wish we had a announced person that pitched the story.
I know, right?
That's a. Get people talking about it and pressure.
Where are they gonna talk to? There's no one to talk to anymore.
Well,
Well, see, that, right now, this is the third, right, as I just said.
November 3rd.
November third. That's what they say, but they should at least live up to the safety study they did, and take the next step. You probably might be hitting a kind of roundabout opposed to a signal, but
Oh, this is Rose.
You mean
Yeah.
here?
That's what they proposed when they
Oh,
built the
man lot.
school.
Oh,
A double rotary.
Yeah.
You're going, oh, you weren't
Yes.
here.
there was a double rotary
Very
proposed to
exciting.
here for the intersection in the
They love rotaries.
entry of the school. They're
Yeah.
not rotaries, they're roundabouts.
I
know.
Like,
Um,
all
Oh,
right,
we
okay.
do have
So
another next correspondence. Yep.
It's good news. The Department of Energy Resources Green Communities Division has approved an award of $99,409 for the Scituate High School LED lighting. So that's great news.
Congratulations.
Yay, congrats. And then I don't know, is this the one we got?
Yeah, you can just recognize it.
Recognize, we did get correspondence via email today on regarding the proposed park, the Pier 44 park, suggesting that it should be parking. So,
Okay. Well, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve and accept the minutes for the select board meeting held on September 26th? So by Mr. Goodrich, second
second.
by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Okay.
And with that, I'll have a motion to adjourn and sign documents.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.